Da 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 da. Oh, cat. Cat. Oh, cat. Oh. Oh. Pop, 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 pop. Alright. New window. Open it. Open it. Oh, interesting. There's a Last American Vagabond at 13. Watch that. Wondering what I was gonna watch. Let me just get check. Alright, here we go. Pat, will you stop? Oh, it's not. Okay. It's not the one. That's really good to go then. Terrible. Why is he? This all when Elon? Did they remove the block feature? Oh no. Elon Musk is removing the block feature from X? Why would you do that, dude? It can't be real, right? Oh, good luck finding a post from Elon Musk though. Oh, fucking posts like 80 times a minute. Up, up. Yeah, that's fine, Keebler. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah. Removing the block is yeah, I know. I'm trying to find the post where he says this. I could just Google it. Block. I don't know why you would ever do that. The whole point. Okay, I don't know about that. It looks like he was responding to somebody that said somebody asked why an individual would want to block or mute somebody. Oh, okay. So maybe what it is that oh, I found the tweet. He goes, "Is this Tesla owner Silicon Valley?" Which is weird. Says, is there ever a reason to block versus mute somebody? Give your reasons. And he says, block is going to be deleted as a feature, except for DMs. It makes no sense. So it looks like you probably just keep the mute Yeah, it doesn't. It looks like they're gonna keep a mute feature, but not a block feature, I guess, so that way you can't see their posts. I guess is what it looks like to me. I don't know why. I don't. I would just leave it alone. Right? Oh, I saw this. This is so sad. A 9-year-old drowned in Brooklyn after wandering off from IKEA. I guess he had autism. They found him in a body of water right outside. 6ix9ine got arrested. I think it was from it was a traffic ticket or something. Oh, so yeah, so the guy from Maui's emergency services resigned. The guy that didn't use the sirens. I also was watching these videos last night where the roads in Maui were all like blocked off. I heard there was I don't think roads in Maui were blocked. They were saying that the freaking roads were blocked by electrical trucks, dude, that were out there replacing poles and down power lines before the fire was even over. Right here. NBC News. Maui residents say utility trucks blocked roads as they tried to flee. Why? Three survivors of the deadly wildfires that ravaged Maui said Wednesday that when the inferno erupted, the main escape route out of town was partly blocked by Hawaiian electric trucks, clearing down lines and replacing bus power poles. Like, what the fuck? Like, if you go look at the videos, I can pull one up. There's literally, like, the traffic is horrible. So you have the fact that the emergency broadcast didn't go off before, and then you have the roads blocked off by what people are saying are power trucks. At first, I saw it was just cops that were blocking it, and they were like sending people in circles around the area. Like if you look at Maui, what was it? Front Street map. Like if you look at the way, so the main rig road in this area is this. It's like a bypass for Route 30. Like this is Route 30, so this is like the main, like one of the main highways that goes along the coast here. And if you look, this is like a kind of like a bypass. It's like there, kind of like a boardwalk kind of area, like a waterfront main road, and each end of it connects down back onto 130. And I guess that's where most of the traffic was like sent to. And people were saying they were having them drive around in circles and shit. So I don't know if that means they were having them go down these, like, up and down these side streets. Maybe they blocked off Route 30, but I don't know why they would block off Route 30. I also saw a video where guys, like, he was walking along this highway and there was no cars on it. Like, they had blocked it. And then you had the other guy. Manager. Let's see. This guy was talking about how like water is and I get it because he's like saying that water shouldn't be used as like a commodity. We should be respecting water. Like he's like really. What up, guys? He's really like one of those guys, and I get it because Hawaii's had big issues with them coming in there and growing sugarcane. They took over all the land, grow sugarcane. I guess that's a big reason why the fires spread so fast too, because I guess all that land that they used to use for sugarcane, those companies still own it, and now they grow certain grasses there, probably for like feed for animals. And I guess that they haven't been clearing the grass properly, so there's like a lot of dead, dry grass over there. And then they had abnormal winds, and then the power lines hadn't been maintained properly, so they fell, and then boom. And then you mix that with the fact that the emergency broadcast didn't go off. The retard that does the water is like in love with water and wants to fuck it, so he wouldn't let them use any water. And then you had roads that were all blocked off. It was just a recipe for disaster. How many people ended up dying? It's like 100 now. How many? Oh, five. 111 people. But the pictures are friggin' fire. I mean, it fucking leveled, dude. That's crazy, bro. He is a fucking wet spot. I mean, that's so tragic, dude. But yeah, you can even see it here. Like if you see all over here, like see all these, it's just long plains of grass. It's just weird to me that as they're talking about all this, yeah, exactly. As they're talking about all this global warming stuff, now all of a sudden all these fires are coming up in areas that, because they haven't been cleared properly, they haven't been maintained properly, the proper systems aren't in place or aren't used properly. Now all of a sudden all these wildfires are getting out of control, where in the past they would have been controlled a lot better because the land would have been cleared properly so that we don't get as many fires. The emergency services would have been in place and been used properly. So in the past, you'd have a wildfire. I mean, except for like in LA, which LA is just a shithole. But in most places, yeah, it's bad, but they generally get them under control in time. How are the ones in Canada doing? I know there's a new one up in Yellowknife. This is 39 minutes ago. Watch this. Yeah, this is the Yellowknife. I think Yellowknife is...
If you have this...
I don't care about that. Thousands of residents are rushing to evacuate the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories as more than 200 fires burn across the region, leaving many to face dangerous road conditions or stand in line for hours for desperate needed emergency flights. This is the other thing too, is a road coming out of here was cut off. Like yesterday I saw a tweet about it. Here you go. Entire cities are being wiped off the face of this planet due to climate change related events. You can't keep ignoring this and pretending like it's somebody else's. Well, let's see. Hold on. What caused the fire in Yellowknife? This is the thing. It's just so. Not only is it dishonest, it really doesn't get to the root of the actual problem. You can scream up and down that it's climate change, but climate change, even if it is a real thing, even if it is man-made climate change, it's not throwing balls of fire down from the sky. There are other factors clearly that are leading to more fires than there was before. You don't just all of a sudden get dry and heat and it causes fires all over the place. Experts say climate change. Yeah, see, it's like ridiculous. Let's see if we can find what they think the cause is. Yeah, I mean, it's typical that. I mean, say what you will about Trump, but at least he would pay up for people if this happened. The capital city of Yellowknife, home to 20,000, and several other Northwest Territories communities have been ordered to evacuate as crews battle 236 active wildfires in the region. Residents of Yellowknife have been urged to evacuate by noon on Friday as a massive fire creeps towards the city in a major highway. It's among 1,000 fires burning across Canada right now. Worst fire season on record. What does this bring me to? Canada wildfire smoke reaches Europe as Canada reports its worst fire season on record. Brush clearing Canada. Let's see. I can. Canada blame for forestry underfunding and mismanagement right here. See what this does. Milk and vote. Milankovitch cycles. Oh, it's from NASA. Yikes. Cycles include the shape of the Earth's orbit, angle of Earth's axis, direction of Earth's axis. What does it bring you closer to the sun? Yeah, so as you come by, it brings. This is the thing. That's what a lot of people say is that I mean, it's you can't deny that we go in cycles. So people are just saying, is this just one of the cycles that our Earth goes through? Which yeah, I believe that. I also believe that climate change is probably. I mean, there's a natural phenomenon with it. But the other thing is, even if so, yeah, let me turn. Even if it's like man-made, part of it's man-made, it's not my fault, dude. I'm not out there like spraying aerosol cans into the sky. Um, I barely even drive my car, bro. So don't blame me. Why don't you blame these big corporations that you guys? I mean, up until 5 years ago, you guys were against all these huge corporations, and now you fucking suck the dick of big corporations. And the problem I really have with them is the way that they go about these things. Like they think that like ESG scores. Also, you know what's gonna happen is they're gonna be like, okay, you have to do this, and this, and then a couple years from now they're gonna go, oh, actually, all those things that we tried to make you do just made it worse and cost us more money. So now we have to do something different because all that actually just made the problem worse because we're actually using more energy than we were before, so we had to burn more. Right. Well, that's the other thing too. Is that a lot of times these fires are like. I mean, I saw that picture the other day. If I can find it. Oh, it is bad, huh? Wow. That's that's crazy. Like all these ones that were up here though, in this area, all look like they kind of started at the same time. But what it looked like to me is that there was one big one that started, and then the wind just blew sparks nearby very quickly, so it all just caught. Which I don't deny that if it's dry, then yeah, it's gonna make it worse. Oh, where's the one about the one? Oh, that's the worst fire season. We don't want that. Here we go. Canada blamed for forestry underfunding and mismanagement. This is from this year too, June. Heavy smoke conditions, critics, forests, forests. Here we go. Critics have also blamed. What is this from? Washington Examiner. Blamed Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for repeatedly invoking climate change, saying that the warming conditions do not relieve the country of its duty to conduct certain preventative measures to maintain its dense forests, such as forest thinning, brush removal, and small control birds. And this is the other problem: is that by doing this, by giving them this scapegoat and this out, it allows them to not do the things that they're supposed to do, and then that money goes other places, like in their pocket, and it allows them to then push forward this agenda that again is going to just transfer money to God knows where. And the fact that people can't see that is really concerning to me. More than 400 wildfires are currently burning in Canada. 239 are out of control. What's causing the fire? Warmer, dry conditions. Lightning storms. Lightning storms. Drier. This is climate change. Here we go. Canada's government has also faced years of sharp criticism for failing to invest more in forest management strategies such as thinning its forests, removing dead wood and underbrush, and ordering small prescribed burns when appropriate. Such efforts have been adopted in other countries with dense forest areas in recent years. The U.S. has also sought to secure more federal and state funds for fire prevention, primarily on the west. And this is the other thing too, right? If you really thought that climate change was a problem, and you really thought that it was going to get hotter and drier during the summer months going forward, and you know that even if we stop all oil consumption and all pollution tomorrow, it's still going to take, let's say, just to throw out a number, 10 years to actually reverse the effects. Why wouldn't you step up your fire prevention strategies in the coming years to try to prevent this from happening? Because it's if you really think that all that is true, it's predictable what's going to happen. Even during a normal, even if it was like normal times where there wasn't climate change, you would want to be doing this stuff to prevent fires. But if you know it's going to get worse, why wouldn't you be doing this stuff like to an extreme degree to really make sure we don't get forest fires like this? The U.S. Forest Service has set a goal of increased forest treatment rates by between 2 or 4-fold. Last year, it joined the federal agencies in announcing a 10-year wildfire crisis response strategy in high-risk areas. Exactly. No fires equal no climate. That's the thing. It's just wild the lengths that they'll go to push their agenda. It's like they know that people aren't buying it and they need something that's really in people's face to try to convince them. And I mean, what's better than natural disasters? In 2021, following California's heaviest wildfire season on record, Governor Gavin Newsom approved an additional $2 billion in funding for wildfire preparedness and response efforts. The plan included thinning forests or removing. Yeah, see, because he got a bunch of shit for this too. And this it was the same thing back then, back when California had all those wildfires too. They said the same stuff, and everybody was pointing out that the forests weren't taken care of. While wildfires are inevitable, critics say these efforts can go a long way in keeping wildfires from mushrooming in size. Exactly. That's especially important since Canada's forests are also highly susceptible to burning. As much as 66% of Canada's forests cover consists of softwood trees or coniferous species such as spruce, pine, and fir that have needles rather than leaves. Yeah. Budget concerns. They didn't dedicate enough funds to the management. Wait a second. The amount each province sets aside can vary widely in scope based on factors such as its size, estimated risk, and wildfire patterns from previous years. Alberta's wildfire budget stands at about 117 million, while British Columbia, another fire-prone area, allocated about 102 million annually. According to 2021 analysis from Natural Resources Canada, the country's total spending on wildfire prevention has exceeded 1 billion for 6 of the last 10 years. On average, costs have risen about 150 million per decade since data collection started in 1970. In the fire-prone area of Alberta, residents complained about the province's decision to axe their firefighting crews as part of a broader budget cut. Well, yeah, they have to pay for stuff like clinics to shoot up dope. Fire crew shortages, so it looks like they had a shortage of fire crews. This is what I'm saying, dude. All right, and then Yellowknife, they're gonna just blame it on Let's look at the map again. I want a good map though. I like this map. These maps. Map's tiny. Fire map. Aha! Perfect. Wow. Where's search? Way to search. Where's Yellowknife? I guess Yellowknife is most. Way up there. Here? Yeah, right here. So are each of these little dots? Thermal anomaly. Oh, Yellowknife This is from Rebel News. Yellowknife RCMP received 2 reports of alleged arson Tuesday evening before the territory issued widespread evacuations of 20K people from the capital. This. And this is the other thing too, is if you start like you get people up in a tizzy about climate change. You tell them that we're all going to die in 5 years, and then people don't believe them. And these kids literally think that we're all going to die and that we're destroying the earth and all this terrible stuff. But people aren't believing it, and they really like feel that anxiety that they need to do something. This is what they could resort to. Let's see. Local law enforcement has charged and arrested 4 female youths with arson for attempting to start a fire along Burwash Drive that a resident managed to put out. Uh, they arrested all 4 and seized aerosol cans and lighters used in the incident. Oh, they have a video of it. I don't know if they have it in this article though. In the news release, police said this is one of 2 alleged arson attempts they are investigating in Yellowknife. RCMP are still searching for 2 men suspected of starting a fire near Long Lake on the northwest side of the city. So it sounds like they were doing it in tandem because it was both by the same area. What is it? Long Lake. Yeah, Long Lake, which is what does it say? She doesn't show one here. Oh, here we go. Wait, Scarlet, Russell, Duck Lake. Gotta be one of these over here though. Huh. Um, a witness in the area reported seeing 2 men running from the area wearing black clothing. Yeah. Understand. It's beyond understanding that in the face of everything in the territory and the threat approaching our city, people would actively attempt to start fires and endanger community members. I mean, what the fuck do you expect? Both of the incidents came on the heels of an encroaching wildfire 16 kilometers northwest of Yellowknife. Shortly after RCMP received both reports of suspected arson, Northwest Territories declared a state of emergency. So it was while the other ones were already going. Yeah. And then they wonder why people are like, oh, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. Oh. Oh, all right, what else do we have? So I googled what caused the fire in Yellowknife, and it says climate change. But then we just found an article saying that there was definitely alleged arson. So and I remember from my childhood or from when I was younger that there was fires all the time, and it was always the same thing. It was that dry conditions.
The nation's largest northern city evacuation orders as wildfires close in. 20,000 people in Yellowknife alone have been told to get out by noon Friday, and more than 200 fires are burning across Canada's Northwest Territories. And officials there have declared a state of emergency. Meantime, this surreal image is from Fort McMurray, ravaged by another wildfire in 2016, where the flames this week turned the sky red. You can imagine the alarm in that city. Officials say they're trying to deploy more resources to the region. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada's military has been called in to help.
A great use for. Yeah, so a lot of sketchy shit with that. As per usual. As per usual. Uh, Amber Heard. Grimes is trending. These Grimes just unblock him so I don't have to deal with this. That is actually pretty funny. What's she look like these days? She's trashy. Look. Ooh! Trashy. I don't like it though. Got nothing upstairs. I've noticed that with these girls these days, they have nothing upstairs, and then they got these big old bubble butts on. Wild to me. Maybe something in the water. I remember when I was younger, the girls had huge cans. We could look at. What else we could. Uh, da, 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 da. Figure he put some music on the background system. See what the Young Turks are talking about. Little felt communists. Newsmax goes to war with the Muppet. Big and Orange. Trump whines about his photo. Jordan Peterson's book called out for misleading. Actually, I want to see what's going on with You guys have anything on the Hunter Biden stuff? Delaware judge dismisses Hunter Biden tax charges. Oh, what was this about?
All right, President Biden is meeting with Japan's prime minister and South Korea's president today at Camp David.
But all eyes remain on his son, Hunter Biden, after a federal judge yesterday dismissed his misdemeanor tax charges, and Republicans work to uncover Biden's alleged involvement in Hunter's overseas business dealings, who he has spoken of many times with our next correspondent.
And Peter Ducey is live from the White House. Hey, Peter. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. President Biden is waking up at Camp David today. He is going to have a limited press availability later on with the leaders of Japan and South Korea. And maybe somebody out in the crowd will ask about the latest lawsuit. It was filed against the CIA by Judicial Watch. They want records that are going to help figure out how they quickly at the CIA cleared that now infamous letter signed by 50-plus intel officials who all insisted Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, something that we now know is not true, and something that a majority of voters think shows laws being broken. The new Fox poll says 50% think Hunter's business dealings were illegal, 36% say unethical. And we are still learning a lot about how then Vice President Biden's office operated.
Not
as
as
the
upbeat
House
music.
Oversight Committee says, they found Joe Biden's private email alias, Robert L. Peters.
Oh, 50% think Hunter Biden did something illegal. I mean,
one reason that Hunter was CC'd on those emails where Joe Biden was using a fake name is so Hunter could prove to the Ukrainian oligarch, look, help is on the way. Who do you think they were referring to when they were talking to Hunter Biden, who they said was dumber than their dogs, who was a drug addict, who had no experience, that we need help from Washington? Who do you think they were talking about?
But a lot of this was litigated more than a decade ago. The Obama-Biden spokesman publicly explained at the time that aliases are commonplace, and he explained why.
If they are inundated in one account with either public emails or spam or the like, that they can continue to use their other account for normal work.
If somebody uses an email alias like then Vice President Biden apparently did, those emails are still subject to FOIA. So if he was trying to hide something, he would essentially be hiding it in plain sight, at least in this case. Back to you.
Right, and the way I read the story, Peter, it was also a federal government agency
I want to see
website,
something
so it's
real
not like
quick. I haven't really been following. Where did the search thing go? Hunter. How's Fox been covering Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden's lawyers blame government for failed plea deal. Coincidence. Timing of Trump indictments of Hunter Biden developments raise eyebrows. Okay, this is short.
Also, Hunter Biden's growing legal challenges are taking a toll on how people perceive him. There's a brand new poll that shows voters increasingly think he did something illegal.
So is that
Mark
50%
Meredith
of
live at the
voters
White
then? Is that
House
what they're
with this
saying?
polling. Hi, Mark.
Dana, good morning to you. Now that a special counsel has been appointed to oversee the Hunter Biden case, it's likely to drag on several more months, if not years. But new polling out shows where people think today about this case involving First Son.
You all right,
News
buddy?
finding among registered voters that at least 50% of people think
We found out
something
today
illegal did
involving
happen.
people
Those numbers up sharply
Biden's
earlier
son.
this year, when only 8% say nothing seriously wrong
Holy.
occurred. Until recently, the details of the case against Hunter was basically kept under wraps because it was under investigation. Remember, he was going to plead guilty to failure to pay taxes just last month, but that deal fell apart after a federal judge raised questions about the circumstances surrounding the plea deal. Now, not surprisingly, the polling also shows political
Hunter Biden did something illegal. Democrats now 19%. Republicans 80. Independents 50% of independents. That's crazy. I don't expect the Dems to ever jump on board. So is that it? Just they found an alias? You'd rather have Bush than what? I mean, we basically have the Bush family. What do you mean? I mean, if Hillary and Biden and Obama's still doing stuff, it's basically the same thing. Biden family and Bush family, as far as I'm concerned, they're all part of the same beast. The early 2000s hegemony. Giuliani begged Trump to pay his legal bill. I don't want to watch this.
This morning, the weekly edition of the Marion County Record is still being published, even after police in this small Kansas town raided the paper's offices on Friday, seizing cell phones, hard drives, and documents. The search warrant accused reporters of identity theft and computer crimes, while reporting on local restaurant owner Carrie Newell for a story that didn't run. Newell told the city council the paper illegally obtained her driving record, which included a DUI.
Wait,
And the
oh,
very
they were saying, right, because they were saying that because it was sealed, right?
Judge who issued that warrant, which allowed for that raid to happen in a literal newsroom in Kansas, apparently has a questionable record herself when it comes to...
Fucking rare Anna W here? Holy shit. I can't believe I'm gonna agree with Anna on something.
driving under the influence and really failing to potentially report all of this as she was attempting to become a magistrate judge. Okay, so let's get to the details here. Now, Judge Laura Vier is the name of the judge who was the one who authorized this raid to take place, did the warrant, right? She was appointed on January 1st to fill a vacant 8th Judicial District Magistrate seat, was arrested at least twice for DUI in 2 different Kansas counties in 2012, and that's according to a witch.
Arrested twice for the same DUI charge or 2 separate DUI charges? That's the...
Wichita Eagle investigation. She was the lead
Well,
prosecutor.
the only reason I say that, Keebler, is because, yeah, sometimes you can agree with her, right? Every once in a while she gets something right. But it's just wild to me that in this particular case, she wouldn't be supporting the corrupt government and actually supporting freedom of speech and news for the journalists. That's just why it's just like, that's how little I respect her and how little I have any faith in her making the right choices anymore, because she's just been so badly just letting the government walk all over her.
For Morris County at the time. Now, what's relevant here, having a DUI on your record doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be a judge, right? However, there are certain reporting requirements, and it is, I don't know, it's not clear at the moment, but based on this investigation, it does not appear that she has done the proper reporting. In fact, it even appears as though the prosecutors didn't do their job as she got, in trouble the second time for this DUI. So it's unclear whether a judicial nominating commission that selected Vier for the magistrate position knew about her arrest and diversion. She would have been required to disclose both arrests in her application. Now let's just quickly talk about the arrests. The first one, okay, so the first arrest was in Coffee County, about an hour and 15 minutes southeast of her home.
I don't really care about the arrests, bro. Like, you're just gonna, this is the things, I agree with her right now, but they're just gonna smear the judge. I don't care about smearing the judge. I care about actual arrests that they made on the journalists, bro.
Which was extended 6 months because she refused to get an alcohol and drug evaluation and even stopped communicating with her lawyer.
That's crazy.
That is insane. So they extended her diversion program for another 6 months as a result of that. Okay, so the Coffee County Sheriff's deputy who made the arrest is Eric L. Smith, now serves as
So yeah, it sounds like she got 2 arrests on the same case because she wasn't doing the shit she was supposed to do.
State legislator as the state representative for
Which
the
again,
area.
I don't care if people that get I mean, if you didn't crash into anybody or kill a kid, I don't give a fuck if you have DUIs. Like, who gives a shit? but it's the arresting journalists and raiding them. And then one of the women died after, right? She had like a stroke the next day.
And
like
the court
90.
records indicate that he also saw prescription drugs in the vehicle at the time of her arrest. She was never sanctioned by the state's attorney discipline board
Anna.
and won re-election multiple
on,
times as a Republican candidate
Oh,
for Morris.
Yes, I should have put that together, Keebler, when you said, I don't care if this magistrate is a conservative. That's why they're smearing her. That's exactly why.
County attorney. Believe it or not, the second arrest was even worse.
So there was
the second in Morris County on August 6, 2012, came amid an unopposed re-election bid for Morris County attorney. She was not supposed to be driving because her driver's license was suspended in Coffee County, court records show. She reportedly drove off-road and crashed into a school building next to Council Grove's football field.
Okay, I kind of do care about that. This bitch should not be driving, bro. Cross into a school building. I wonder what that means. School building. It doesn't say schoolhouse. It's a school building.
Then driving then 8th District Magistrate Judge Thomas
Well,
Balls.
again, the way I feel about DUIs is that reckless driving is already a crime. You already have all these crimes to stop people that are driving inappropriately on the road. Being drunk, I mean, there's plenty of people that are drunk but they drive like angels, you know what I mean? Now I understand for probably most people driving drunk is going to cause them to drive erratically, but you already have laws on the books for driving erratically and stuff.
Vehicle. Now, Thomas Ball, he's a magistrate judge. He recused himself in this case because of the fact that he was in the vehicle with her. But there are some pretty shady details on how some of this stuff was never reported or prosecuted.
It's just messed up that they could pull you over for like running a stop sign, and then just because you're drunk, then you can get a DUI, which really fucks up your record. Right, exactly. But if you like crash into like, this is the thing, if it's like a felony or something, or if it's like a serious infraction, then I wouldn't mind them tacking on a DUI charge if they come in you're drunk. But if you just do something that's totally innocuous and like really not a big deal, and it's just an excuse to pull you over basically, then you shouldn't be handing out DUIs for like improper lane change or something dumb like that. Because clearly you were driving okay. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Likely would have been a violation of her diversion agreement.
I don't agree that people
County.
should be driving drunk, though. I think it's a silly move. Don't drive drunk. Don't drink, period, in my opinion. But
Prosecutors in Coffee County didn't know about the Morris County case, and the earlier Coffee County DUI was not disclosed to the public in Morris County, where she was standing for re-election. So remember, the raid allegedly happened in this newsroom because a local restaurateur was being investigated by the paper for driving with a suspended license after she had been found guilty of a DUI, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like, I don't know if there was a bias here because of the judge's past, but I do think these details are interesting to say the least.
For sure.
But we have to, I kind of want to find out about this now. We're gonna have to watch an actual news organization to get the actual details, because these people are just drama farmers. It's ridiculous.
Two different problems. And then I'm going to make a random point about electing judges. One is the judge herself, and two is its effect on the underlying case, right?
Is he okay,
so when you,
bro?
You talk about
his eyes. Is he drunk? You think he's an alcoholic?
About the judge.
He doesn't look all right. I'm sure he has heart issues.
By herself. I'm worried about the details that Anna showed you guys, because if she's not even showing up to get evaluated as she's supposed to, and she won't even talk to her own lawyers.
Is he drunk?
No, she's off the deep edge. That means she's having significant issues, right? Well, then that creates two problems. One is we have a judge brazenly breaking the law and not following it. I mean, that alone right there, giant red flag. You can't do that. They got to take her off the bench, right?
Right. And
but
potentially
secondly,
people providing cover for her, right? That's what it appears to be.
Well, that's a third problem, in my opinion. That's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
But for her personally, the other thing that I'm worried about is competence. So if she's on the bench and she's sauced, right? She's not showing up for those evaluations for a reason. It's not like, oh, golly gee, I forgot for 6 months in a row. The reason you don't show up for those is if you're high or drunk, right? And so then she's going on the bench and judging people and sending them to jail and playing with their lives.
And issuing warrants for raids, including warrants for raids in newsrooms in a country that's supposed to have...
Oh my God. We just figure out that these people are corrupt. Again, this is why with the whole Trump thing, it's like, why? Like, I'm arguing with people on Twitter about it. And they're like, well, we have to hold people accountable for their actions. And if they do something illegal, we have to. I'm like, yeah, no shit. But we never did before. And now all of a sudden they decide to do these things and hold people accountable. And it just so happens to be right now when Trump is the one on the chopping block. Come on, dude. You can't tell me that that's not corrupt and political.
Protections for the press.
You want to do this and fine. Then drag Bush and Obama and Hillary in and prosecute them for all their fucking crimes. I mean, they committed literal war crimes. So
that gets us to the underlying case. But again, I'm not here to say, like, to try her. This is not a court of law. This is my opinion based on
it's just an attack on her character. Because that's all you guys do. You just attack people's characters and sitting on your fucking high horse all day. Now, granted, I don't like this woman either, but you don't need to sit there and just attack her character.
Presenting, but
she clearly has a problem. She clearly has an alcohol problem. She should get that handled. She shouldn't be driving, and she should have disclosed it. But she clearly has issues. I mean, she has issues.
Ought to pursue this. I mean, at least is she on the straight and narrow now? Like, I know before she didn't give a damn about the law. Wasn't paying attention to it and refused to follow it, but is she following the law now?
Bro.
Is she sober now? I don't know. And so they should investigate that. All right, now to the underlying thing. Look, guys.
Oh, so perfect.
I question her competence in several different ways, or maybe her bias, as Anna pointed out. Because, number one, she gave the warrant that she should not have given at all. They did not have sufficient evidence. And now the Marion County prosecutor has withdrawn the warrant. That's how terrible and insufficient the warrant was. But on top of that, they're a press organization. A warrant is not sufficient. You have to get a subpoena for a press organization. What, does she not know that?
They don't care, obviously.
So that's a massive problem for a judge to not even know what the law is. So then finally, the electing the judges is absurd, because if you're in a really red or really blue county, you're going to be unaccountable because people vote based on red or blue. They don't know the judges. So if you've got a judge who's totally out of control, either Republican or Democrat in these counties, they're going to win the elections anyway. So we're just electing randos to judges based on whether we have an R or a D on our helmet.
That's all you do.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
I'll admit, every election season, when you get that massive California ballot asking you to make a decision about judges, it's like, I don't know who these people are.
No one does. And how are we supposed to investigate the judge's record as average citizens?
Exactly.
You know what I hate? I hate that when something like this, like I want to look at police record. I want to look at the record of policing in this county before this happened. But it's hard when there's like a breaking news story. Let's do this. Officer. Burns Police Chief? Where is this? Oh, this is a small town of Marion County. So one of the chief of police, but how does Marion County break down? Marion County. Nope. Is this it? Oh wow, okay. this a town named Canada? Or is it a place named Canada? I don't understand. I don't know. I'm not from Kansas. So it's actually Marion. Where was he? Burns? Or is that his name? No, Burns. Where's Burns? Down here? Oh, right here, down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wonder if they all have their own. Let's... Who was the other one? Was it the sheriff's department that raided them? Police. Marion Police Department. So is... I'm confused. Is... Oh. So it must have been the actual town of Marion in Marion County. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I wonder if this guy's had links in the area. This is... I saw a meme. Actually, it might have been in... let me see if I can find it for it. Yeah, I think it was in Snicker Pie's thing. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, goodness, it's supposed to be copyright free. I can't. But it was like, I don't know who posted it. It was like, oh, remember that they canceled the Catch a Predator because they kept catching police and politicians. Yeah, a day after the raid, Joan Meyer died. Which newspaper was it? Marion County Record. Let's see if we can find their website. There it is. Oh, it looks like another place. Kansas Bureau of Investigation has taken over a case that led to police and sheriff's deputies seizing computer equipment and cell phones Friday morning from the record office, the home of its co-owners and the home of Marion's vice mayor. Although Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody applied for search warrants for the raids, condemned by the record's attorney and organizations such as Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press as illegal. Well, yeah, no shit. The KBI confirmed that as of Monday, it was serving as the lead agency. As we transition, we will review prior steps taken and work to determine how best to proceed with the case. KBI spokesperson Melissa Underwood wrote in an email statement, once our thorough investigation concludes, we'll forward all investigative facts to the prosecutors for review. That email followed the statement the KBI released Sunday saying the Marion Police and County Attorney Joel Ensign asked the agency to join on an investigation into allegations of illegal access and dissemination of confidential criminal justice information. KBI assigned an agent to the case last Tuesday and has been assisting since that time. The KBI agent did not apply for the search warrants in question. He was not present when the warrants were served. Director Madhavi believes very strongly that freedom of the press is a vanguard of American democracy. Without free speech and a free press, our society is not likely to see appropriate accountability of public officials. but another principle of our free society's equal application of the law. No one is above the law, whether a public official or a representative of the media. Police have accused record staff of illegally accessing and disseminating Marion restaurateur Harry Newell's confidential driving record information. The paper rigorously denies doing so, saying it only was trying to confirm the authenticity of a document sent independently to a reporter via social media and didn't plan to write a story about her license being suspended due to a 2008 DUI. 2008? Oh, maybe not still suspended, but it was suspended. Wording there's. It didn't release the document to anyone, but Newell accused the paper at a city council meeting August 7th of providing the information to Vice Mayor Ruth Herbel. She also accused Herbel of sharing it. Herbel said she shared it only with City Administrator Brogan Jones because Newell was seeking endorsement of a catering liquor license at the meeting. Oh. Herbel received the document from the same source as the newspaper. Interesting. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Two record reporters were outside at the back door of the newspaper's 3rd Street building when Cody and other law enforcement officials arrived Friday morning. Cody asked whether anyone else was in the building. The newspaper's office manager was at her desk. Cody handed record reporter Deb Groover a copy of a search warrant. After Groover said she needed to call editor and publisher Eric Meyer, Cody forcibly yanked her personal cell phone out of her hand, re-injuring one of her fingers, which previously had been dislocated. Groover filed a report about the incident with the KBI. Cody also confiscated Phyllis Zorn's phone. Police would not let staff members inside the building, forced them to stay outside for hours during a heat advisory. They weren't allowed to answer or make any calls. Police told officer manager Terry Bentz and reporter Groover and Zorn their Miranda rights. In the case of Groover, Cody asked officer Zach Hudlin to recite them from a business-sized card because he wasn't wearing his glasses. Officers seized computer equipment, including the newspaper's file server. At the same time, police were raiding the record office. They also raided the home of Joan Meyer. The home Joan Meyer of Joan Meyer. You guys gotta. I understand that they're like a smaller place, but come on, guys. The newspaper's 98-year-old co-owner. She tearfully watched during the raid as police not only carted away her computer and router used by an Alexa smart speaker, but also dug through her son Eric's personal bank and investment statements to photograph them. Electronic cords were left in a jumbled pile on her floor. Joan Mayer died the next day. That's wild to me. Law enforcement also seized the computer and cell phone from Herbel's home. Bernie Rhodes, representing the record, castigated Cody in a letter sent to him Sunday and then forwarded to KBI on Monday. He offered Cody an opportunity to mitigate my client's damages from the illegal searches you personally authorized, directed and conducted on Friday. First, as you were told on Friday, the computer, cell phones, and other items you illegally seized contain the identity of confidential sources, as well as information provided by those confidential sources, Rhodes wrote. This information is protected by both federal and state law. Accordingly, demand is made that you not reveal any information on those devices or any other information you illegally seize, so you not willingly violate the privilege. Second, Kansas law recognizes a journalist's privilege not just for information received from confidential sources, but for any information gathered, received, or processed by a journalist, whether or not such information is actually published or whether or not related information has been disseminated, and includes but is not limited to all notes, outtakes, photographs, tapes, and other recordings or other data of whatever sort that is gathered by a journalist in the process of gathering, receiving, or processing information for communication to the public. The record is entitled to a court hearing before you review any information you illegally see. Rhodes referenced a post Cody made on the police department's Facebook page in which you mistakenly suggest the Federal Privacy Protection Act did not bar your illegal search because you had reason to believe the journalist was taking part in the underlying wrongdoing. From the face of this subpoena, it appears you told the magistrate you were investigating identity theft, an unlawful act concerning computers. Because it is patently clear no such crimes occurred, it is impossible for you to have met the heightened standard of probable cause. Wow. So they really went and said that they were engaging in identity theft. So they're probably saying they were stealing people's identities there and stealing their bank accounts and card numbers and shit. I mean, they probably put on a whole song and dance for the judge to try to get that warrant. As Joan Meyer said less than 24 hours before she died, these are Hitler tactics. Oh, every time with that. Can't we just say it's authoritarian? It's Biden tactics. She is right. Your personal decision to treat the local newspaper as a drug cartel or street gang offends the constitutional protections the founding fathers gave the free press. I can assure you that the record will take every step to obtain relief for the damages your heavy-handed actions have already caused my client. As I stated at the beginning, this letter offers you an opportunity to mitigate those damages going forward. If I were you, I would jump at this opportunity. Yeah, fucking right. So it looks like... Where is it? Yeah, right here. So it didn't release a document to anyone, meaning the newspaper. But Newell accused the paper at a city council meeting of providing the information to Vice Mayor Ruth Herbal, and then accused Herbal of sharing it. And then Herbal said that she gave it to the city administrator, Brogan Jones, because Newell was seeking endorsement of a catering liquor license at the meeting. Oh, so it looks like... Yeah, it looks like they just knew that she was trying to get a liquor license. So it looks like it was the same person, right? Because Newell's the one that... Which local restaurant? Yeah. So I don't know what the fuck's Anne is talking about. It looks like it was the woman that was at the restaurant. Oh, unless I guess they're saying that the judge also had DUIs. Judge in Marion County case because it looks like what happened was they got oh my god, so they are right. So this judge also has DUIs, and she was the one that... Holy fuck. Everybody has fucking DUIs, bro. I don't know why it's such a big surprise. Everybody has DUIs. Liquor license stuff is very cutthroat. Yeah, because they only give out so many, right? Oh, so good. They took everything. Oh, well, you're lucky. It's so easy to get a fucking DUI. All it takes you drink like a couple beers, you're fine, but you're over 0.08. And then you just like happen to go through a stop sign too quick. And that's it. You don't have to drive drunk. You just have to drive literally like a couple beers in your system. Not drunk, but like I used to be, well, that's a good idea. You should walk home. Shouldn't drive after drinking. I mean, I used to fucking drive so drunk, dude. It was so bad. But that's because when I get drunk, I turn into a terrible person. But yeah, so the judge has DUIs. It looks like they got the records from somebody who shared them, gave it to him on social media. And so if that's the case, then they didn't illegally access anything. And that's why you have to do an investigation. You can't just grab a warrant and go and raid somebody. You're supposed to actually have an investigation. So they didn't really say... The restaurant owner accused the paper of giving the information to Vice Mayor Ruth Herbal, and then Herbal, the restaurant owner says that he gave it to Brogan Jones, who was a city administrator, because they didn't want her to get a liquor license, basically, because she had DUIs. I don't think can you get a liquor license with a DUI right there? In most cases, no. Not if the establishment. No, we can carry on. Oh, you can get one. So, I mean, it wouldn't even have stopped them from getting one necessarily. And I'm imagining that this Newell person must, I mean, they must. Who is Carrie Newell? This person must have. Okay, she looms large in the restaurant scene on 3rd Street in downtown Marion. First came the chef's plate at Parlor 1886 restaurant housed inside the historic Elgin Hotel. Newell took over as restaurant owner and lead chef in January, according to the Hillsborough Free Press. So, she's like some big fucking deal. Not just some mom and pop business owner. I don't think it doesn't make sense to me that just because the judge also had sealed DUIs or whatever, that she would grant the warrant just because she had DUIs like the woman did. I'm assuming that they must know each other. First came told the Free Press she dreamed of bringing next level fine dining to the steak and seafood restaurant. And then she opened a coffee shop. Oh, interesting. Before the raid, Newell had been in conflict with The Record, which is this is the news outlet that they raided. In early August, when Newell hosted a meeting at her coffee shop with U.S. Rep. Jake LaTurner, a U.S. Representative, Jake LaTurner, and other officials. Those that attended included 3 members of the Marion County Commission. Yeah, see, she knows all these people. It's exactly what's going on here. The 3 commissioners represented a majority of the 5 county commissioners, which meant the gathering was an open meeting under Kansas law. Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, so if there's 3, a majority of 5 county commissioners makes the gathering an open meeting. Yeah, I've heard that before. That's interesting. But so the law enforcement, including the Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody, were invited in attendance. The Record's publisher, Eric Meyer, joined the meet and greet with another reporter. Then he said the police chief asked him to leave. I was standing in line waiting to get a drink at the coffee shop where we were, and the police chief came up to us and said, "You've been asked to leave by the coffee shop owner." She said, "We don't want the media in here, so they threw us out." Newell told CNN that she had the journalists... How does everybody do this? I'm going to read it just like it's written. Newell told CNN that she had the journalists to leave because she said the newspaper has a long-standing reputation for twisting and contorting comments within our community. Interesting. I wonder if they actually had problems before this too. I should let me just copy these links down so I can put them in the description in case anybody wants to look. That one. This is the record. So this is actually... That's actually the place that got it. Very interesting. Yeah, so she just knows a bunch of people. I mean, that's all it is. Rated Kansas newspaper is known for aggressively covering small towns' many disputes. Interesting. That's interesting. So it sounds like people have had problems with them. It says Marion County Record. the place. They got a big American flag on here. Let's see what other stuff they carry. They cover. Let's check their opinion. Let's check this Barbie's world. Let's see what they write. When I first read about the Barbie movie coming out in theaters, I wondered what on earth anyone would have to write about. Then again, Hollywood has come up with movies about comic book characters like Spider-Man and Superman that bona fide adults seem to enjoy, so why not Barbie? But I go see that movie, well, that was up for grabs. What I really wanted to see was a movie about Oppenheimer. Okay, so my birthday was coming up and my sister asked, so what would you like to do on your birthday? That's a question that requires reflection. What would I really like to do? Usually the answer is go somewhere, which means explore something or someplace I've not visited before. Friends were visiting. While they were here, the subject of my looming birthday came up in conversation. You should go see that Barbie movie, Michaela said. I've read about it and I'd like to see it. Now, I must admit, Michaela, who's from Austria, going to see that Barbie movie was something I had to see. I never dreamed she'd be interested. Let's do it, I said, jumped in chance to experience something I'd never done before. Explore the world of Barbie. I mean, I don't... Reviews were mixed. Phil was horrified at all the previews we had to watch. Did people really bring their little children to watch this kind of thing? She wanted to know. Movies seem to be doing well in other places, was sparse. Okay, my review of the movie would be, it's a well-written, thought-provoking, fun movie to see. So I don't see... other news. He buys 3 houses at Texas. Yeah, I don't really see why. I mean, from that one thing we read, at least, I don't see why they would have a problem. It's not like they're overtly right wing or anything. I mean, I guess we could look at yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty normal looking. And now all they're going to do is just cover this case. I mean, they just gave them God knows how much content. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it is like a blog, but that's what like most of these are now. But it definitely is interesting that that restaurant owner knows a bunch of people in politics and shit. All right, let's see.
20 of them, and how in the world?
So there, I just covered that whole story like in depth in less time than it's going to take them to just bash the judge for 10 minutes.
Gonna go get LexisNexis and all become legal experts? And by the way, then they're allowed to take campaign cash. So then corporations just buy the judges as well as the politicians.
Yeah, it's just...
This system is disastrous.
Okay, but with that said, there was another angle to that story that I want to revisit.
I don't understand why Cenk and Anna don't literally just record one video where they just say like, oh, they take corporate money, and just do that whole spiel and just play that for every single segment, because that's all. It's literally every single segment. It's the same tired, played out bullshit that I agree with and is true, but it's like, yeah, no shit, dude. That's shit that I learned in elementary school. Like, yeah, politicians are corrupt. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Can we like actually figure out what we're gonna do about it, or like come together and try to fight back? Because it's just like talking about it constantly. I know it gives you good brownie points because your dumb sycophantic audience is like, yeah, the politics are a joke. But for people that actually have a brain, it doesn't do shit for us.
Not much has developed yet, but remember, the idea that a raid should be allowed because a local restaurateur was being investigated by journalists for allegedly, driving under the influence, driving with a suspended license. Like, it all sounded weird to me. I felt like there's something else afoot, like there's something else going on behind the scenes. And
what's
one
going
of the
on with
things,
Anna's forehead? Is it that because her hairline's really tall here? Or does she have a lot of hair that comes up the sides? It seems like there's a lot more hair here. How's mine look? Doesn't it look like it's a lot of hair encroaching onto her forehead from the sides? Or it's like a makeup trick or something? She put makeup here to make it look like she's got more hair here? Huh. I never noticed that before. It's also got this little dippy-doo where she's missing hair. Interesting. A weird-looking gal.
that was mentioned very briefly in one article was that this paper that had been raided was also investigating their local police chief. And so the publisher of the paper...
I've heard that before too. Magistrates, I don't think they're supposed to... I think that they can, but I think it's like certain circumstances. Can magistrates sign warrants? In Massachusetts, at least, they can be. But they have to sign a sworn statement signed under oath. Yeah, so here... Oh. See... In Kansas. Oh, interesting. Only within judicial district in which the judge resides, or just within the judicial district in which the judge has been assigned.
His name is Eric Meyer. Touches on this in the next video that we're going to show you.
Let's take a look.
The publisher and co-owner of the paper, Eric Meyer, denies the allegation and tells NBC News he believes the police chief has a personal axe to grind.
Police chief saw an opportunity to let's really stick it to this newspaper, which has not been entirely supportive of him.
According to Meyer, the paper was investigating police chief Gideon Cody's time on the force in Kansas City, including that he was set to be demoted for misconduct before joining the department.
This would be an interesting area to have people go do First Amendment audits in. Marion, Kansas, audit. Let's see if anybody's done any over there. No, I don't see any. This would be a very interesting town to go do an audit in and see how the cops treat you. Because it sounds to me like it's a very, very corrupt, tight-knit group of politicians that abuse their power so that they can all stay in power together. Which is pretty, I mean, it's not out of the ordinary.
In Marion, Meyer says the sources wouldn't go.
Yeah, I remember I hear a lot of. See, it's auditors that used to say that too. Like, how is it that magistrates can sign warrants?
And the story.
Well, as long as they don't kill you and they shoot you, it's a good payday.
Was never published. The police chief did not respond to NBC News' request for comment, but previously defended the raid, arguing there were legal grounds.
Yeah, except no, there weren't legal grounds, and the judge who issued the warrant, as we've shown you, has some issues. And just to go back to what Cenk said earlier, I want to reiterate it because it's an important detail to this story. Let's go to graphic 7. Marion County Attorney Joel Enzi said Wednesday that the warrant was ordered with insufficient evidence to establish a connection between the material seized and the alleged crime. And that is exactly why the warrant in question ended up being rescinded by the same county attorney.
Now, guys, do you get it that if the police chief gets all of their equipment and has all of their information, he'll know who their source is. So whether it was published or not published, he now knows who was saying that he has these disciplinary problems from his past.
He knows who the sources are.
And you think he didn't want to know who the source was? He definitely wanted to know, right? And now he almost certainly does. And is there going to be retaliation against that source? Well, I mean, look, it's going to be hard because the paper doesn't want to put out the source's name because that's what
they already have
reporters do. But if then that source gets fired, nobody will even know. So that's why you don't do.
No, what happened? I'm sure they did get it from a third party. Now that third party is probably somebody that works with the records, obviously, or their family member does or something, and they got the record. Now I don't even know. I still don't know if the record was even, because usually like arrests and stuff, those kinds of records are usually public. You can FOIA that kind of shit, can't you? Like DUIs and stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't seen anything that neither confirms nor denies that it was not a public record. So, I mean, if they sealed it, then sure. I mean, it shouldn't have been being disclosed to anybody. But you can't blame the newspaper for getting a piece of paper that they're not supposed to have if they didn't directly go and take it out of the archive or something, or take it off the computer system. If it was just handed to them or given to them, it seems like it was given to them via social media, so it was sent to them electronically. It's not, I mean, they didn't break the law. You know what I mean? So, right. So if it was sealed, then yeah, it shouldn't have been being disseminated. But we also have to look at the way that it was sealed, because sometimes it's sealed for a period of time, or sometimes it's sealed only if certain criteria are met, like they finish their probation and their driver retraining, whatever, and then it'll be sealed. But until all those things are met, it's not sealed. So it's possible that maybe they didn't pay a fee or a fine that was associated with the thing, and it was supposed to be sealed, but it never actually got sealed because they didn't complete all the stuff they were supposed to do to have it sealed. So it's possible that they thought that it was supposed to be sealed, but it wasn't actually. Or it's possible that it was sealed, that somebody obtained it illegally and then gave it to this newspaper to smear this restaurant owner, because the restaurant owner was a cunt. And she had fucked with them before, and she knows a lot of people in politics around there, and they don't like this newspaper or this blog or whatever it is. Right. I mean, regardless, the police definitely, I mean, they didn't even break the law. They violated people's rights. Yeah, hearsay to get a warrant. Yep. I think the scope of the warrant, here's the source warrant right here. Having evidence under oath before me from which I find there is probable cause to believe that an offense against the laws of the state of Kansas, including but not limited to violations of KSA 21-6107- identity theft and KSA 21-5839, unlawful acts considering computer. So identity theft, this is the other thing too, right? So regardless, as to everything else, they put on the warrant identity theft and unlawful acts concerning computers has been committed, and that certain contraband fruits, instruments, and evidence of such offense, to wit. Okay, so it looks like it's a warrant for, okay, so it is a warrant for electronics and documents. Supposed to be a second page. How do I go? Oh, here you go. Okay, so it was a full search warrant. Some by the judge. Okay, so it was proper in that it wasn't just like an arrest warrant or something. It was an actual search warrant of the premises, it looks like. But they put identity theft and unlawful acts concerning computers. Now, I don't know if the unlawful acts concerning, I mean, I don't know if that's what they label this sort of thing as, but that seems excessive for what they said was the charge. Okay, so it says right here. Let me just copy this real quick. Post this over here. So I have it. I'm going to put it all in the description. Duty of Teal stand out in this 2-page document, which is signed by Magistrate Judge Laura Vire around 9. Okay. The first two is the 2 crimes listed on the warrant: identity theft and unlawful acts concerning computers. Identity theft is broadly defined in Kansas law as obtaining, possessing, or using personal identifying information about someone with the intent to defraud them or misrepresent them in order to bring them economic or bodily harm. So I guess, judging by, I mean, what they claim had occurred, I guess that would fit. Yeah. They used illegal methods to learn of her past DUI conviction. And then, let's see. Under Kansas law, unlawful acts concerning computers are defined mostly as cyber crimes like hacking. However, one provision mentions using a computer to, quote-unquote, defraud or to obtain money, property, services, or any other thing of value by means of false or fraudulent pretense or representation. Interesting. No, it looks like what they're saying is that because they got information about her that was personal in nature, because they say it was sealed, and they were going to use it to defraud her, that falls under those statutes. Which, judging by the reading of them, it seems that it probably does, if what they're claiming is true, that it was sealed and wasn't supposed to be available to the public. But again, I don't know what the laws would be on receiving private information from another source, but they didn't go out of their way to obtain the files. No, that's the warrant for the search and seizure of the newspaper. Let's finish this stupid fucking video.
Search and seizure on a press outlet, unless you have a subpoena, it is a higher standard than just a
I have
warrant.
to check that claim. Can you raid can you use a warrant to search a a search warrant enough to raid a newsroom? Not always. A 1980 law called the Privacy Protection Act makes it illegal for law enforcement to seize materials used by journalists for their work using a simple search warrant. Oh, well, wow. The Papoon got something right. Interesting. Okay.
Warrant, and in this case, the warrant was crap, let alone not
Well,
having a
no,
subpoena.
I mean, technically the warrant wasn't crap. It did fall under the statutes, judging by Kansas law. But you are correct that a simple warrant isn't enough to actually follow through with the search.
Let alone having a judge who was either potentially biased or had competence
Well, clearly
issues, at a
biased.
minimum.
But you
Thanks
guys
for
don't
watching
actually do
the-
any research. He wouldn't know the connections that the restaurant owner has. Okay, so. Well, it got us talking about that at least. Very interesting. I know a lot more about it now than I did before. Didn't Tucker Carlson just interview RFK, right? Did anybody watch that? Was it any good? I have to do my cat's litter box today too. It's nasty. I want to see live.
I think I did. Yeah. So here, this is a video. Now, the only video that I can see that has any evidence, and this is only a video, and you can't verify the document because it's just in a video behind somebody on TikTok. I can't stand TikTok today. So she basically shows this, and it appears to be, and I, as far as I can tell, this did happen. So what you have is a rental location where people are renting, like apartment buildings, right? Somebody who owns the property apparently gave an eviction notice to everybody that lived there because, whatever, and it apparently didn't burn down, but there's damages. And they basically said, we're evicting everybody because we're going to sell this property, which makes sense with what's going on today. People are coming in, the vultures are coming in to buy everything, not just what was burned, because that's always been the plan. And he literally gives them 45 days.
By the way, this is The Last American Vagabond. I just happened to click on it to see what he was covering, and this is interesting. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, so I just want to at least get through this part.
Some people just wholesale lying about this, saying the governor's evicting everybody. The mayor of Maui is evicting people. That's not what's happening. Everybody, again, people have a right to lie. That's free speech. I just think it's hilarious that Twitter is censoring people for things that are true while allowing the things that aren't. It's hilarious. But they shouldn't censor anybody. But the point is, and you listen to the video yourself, she's making it very clear. It was a person of rental, and the owner of the property decided to sell it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's this video. And it's just this person who is talking about this video. So, and then goes into one of these posts somebody made about it, where, of course, all the other posts are keeping this part out of it because it's not as clickbaity when you leave out the fact that the person who did it takes it back and says, I'm sorry, never mind. The landlord decides to say, never mind, I'm pulling back the eviction notice, and now you can stay there. Probably because everybody was like, are you disgusting? Are you serious? And so either way, as far as the story goes, and this is the same video everyone's pointing to, it turns out he pulled it back anyway. It doesn't change the fact that it's disgusting, that people are still trying to evict people while this is happening. But it's not somebody who owns property that is being pushed out.
Oh, this is down the rabbit hole?
That's what people are sensitive to, right? Okay.
Down the rabbit hole. Here it is. Right. Yeah, she was actually covering some of the other stuff I've been watching recently too. Maybe it's a short. Yes, right here.
Hey guys, so I'm getting a lot of messages about the Maui fires and how people are receiving eviction notices from landlords during the fire. Let me show you these two videos.
His home, he lost everything, but this isn't for him. This is somebody else by him. They didn't lose their home, but they're about to because the mayor is evicting the entire fucking building. Some of the only people that still had homes, and they're evicting them. They have 45 days. To the people that thought that this was fake, I hope you get a fucking life. But everybody else, I thank you so fucking much because I have a feeling TikTok had something to do with this. The landlord backpedaled. They get to stay. Doesn't mean they're not going to try to grab land.
Let me know your thoughts.
Wait, so was this during the fire, they're saying?
Baby Bunny has a doctor's appointment today, so I'll probably see you guys later. But we definitely need to put this on blast. Hey guys, so I'm getting a lot of messages about the Maui fires and how people are receiving eviction notices from landlords during the fire. Let me show you these two videos.
His home, he lost everything, but this isn't for him. This is somebody else by him. They didn't lose their home, but they're about to because the mayor is evicting the entire fucking building. Some of the only people that still had homes, and they're evicting them. They have 45 days. To the people that thought that this was fake.
Wow.
So here, again, I just can't not laugh at how dumb this is. And none of this is being proven. Everyone's going, hey, TikTok said. We got to be better than this, guys. We got to be. I know, I'm again speaking to the choir. You guys understand it, but it's just, and TikTok and Twitter and the rest of these. I mean, this is what they're made for, guys. They are driving.
Can I just say that I cannot stand it when you click on an article or something and they don't fucking date it. Why wouldn't you date it? Yeah, I don't know when this is from.
People are already being called, being pressured. And by the way, this is not a new topic. long before these fires, this has been happening. They've been pressured, they've been attacked, they've been threatened.
Okay.
So just make sure you understand that. Now, the climate change overlap is just so embarrassingly stupid. And you got these people, this guy with 41,000 followers, saying entire cities are being wiped off the face of this planet due to climate change related events.
This
Last
is the
week,
guy
it was
that we
Lahaina.
saw earlier on Twitter.
Today, it's Yellowknife in
Yeah.
Canada, the capital of the Northwest Territory. Okay, interesting. Well, I did just the smallest, and I mean, like the first thing that popped up was, oh, turns out that's arson.
That's
How
the exact
interesting.
same thing. I
August
found.
16th, verbatim says.
Right,
Let's
but
highlight, hold on.
that's kind of dishonest because. Oh, wait a second.
I guess this guy can't read past the first line, but he's an intelligent journalist, right? He's going to inform
Right,
you.
but no, they're not saying.
Okay. Here's another example. The police in that area are right now investigating even more calls of arson. So they already deemed it arson, but now they're investigating even more examples of the. Yeah, you know why? Because this is happening repeatedly, where people are setting fires in multiple locations at the same time. They start at the same time, and then people like this infant-minded person
I
will come out and
can't.
say,
I'm not going to say that it's 100% arson, but they did arrest some girls for arson, and there was another case of arson in that area where they're still looking for 2 men that were dressed in all black. But it's definitely possible. I'm not ruling out the possibility that it was probably arson.
as I can tell, these are arson.
Could be.
As I said, are you willfully lying to people, or are you just incapable of doing due diligence?
Willfully lying.
The fires in this exact areas you're showing have been found to be
100%
arson.
lying.
As with so many fires,
Yeah, but you go
that
look it up.
claim due to climate change with nothing but your feelings. And this person then says, do you not understand that the stronger winds and drier conditions created by climate change help the fires spread more easily and make them more difficult to put out? I just
Oh, wait,
can't.
no, we want the
So what
Canada
I said
one,
is,
sorry.
so your point is that even if the fires were started by people deliberately, which they were, that climate change made it worse, which is completely your opinion, therefore this is due to climate change? Well, that is some next level willful ignorance.
It's
Wow.
pretty interesting that
That's
so
who we're
like
fighting with.
this happened to me earlier when I looked at it. I Googled what caused the Yellowknife fires. This Yellowknife in Canada that newer fires have sprung up there, and like he said, he found. Oh, what's this?
Different locations. It's kind of caught the
So it
hallmarks of
says
every
Daniel
other
Smith
example we've
says
seen.
500 of 650 Alberta
It's
wildfires
just kind
were
of hard
started
to
by
wrap your mind around
humans.
and it be this blatant. Well, here's an important post. Climate change will continue to strike attractive locations that the state wishes to purchase at a discount, warns scientists. Well, if you jumped out of your seat, it's the World Economist Forum. Am I saying that incorrectly? Economist? It's not the World Economic Forum. Let's put it that way.
Communist.
But the point is, this is that parody account that seems to trick people constantly, which
It
is
is pretty
hilarious.
funny.
Because if you just glance at it, it's
I
hard to
didn't
see.
notice it first.
Blue check and all, right? But this is a parody account. But a lot of people down here didn't realize that. But
Yeah,
I
but
think
so
this
if
is
you just
climate
look
change
up what caused the Yellowknife fires, all you get is climate change shit. It does not come up. I wonder if I type in Yellowknife arson. Let's see if it comes up. Okay, so then it does come up, the CBC article we looked at earlier. Interesting. What's this one? Yellowknife, police fear an arsonist behind the lines. An aerosol can was located on scene and the fire is believed to be an arson. Okay, so they are saying that it was an arson. This is the latest of 3. Okay, so it is. So this is a third one that caused the fire. Wow, look at that. Yeah. I mean, we're living in clown world. It's like this literal parody. It's ridiculous. I should really I should grab these articles. This is the one we looked at earlier, right? Okay, as long as it as long as it gives me some sources to cite underneath the videos. Wow.
In Europe in general, where they're being burned for green energy, burning forests to save the planet. Wrap your mind around that.
This is
Because,
what I was
guys,
saying earlier, is that this is what they're
very
going to
real.
do, is they're going to switch us over to solar and all this other stuff, but they don't, like, nobody understands it. Solar, you're going to have to do so much strip mining for lithium and stuff, and I think that they still use oil and gas and stuff to power certain things to get the solar going, and all these other things that come along with these quote unquote renewable energies. They have people that are literally resorting back to burning wood now as renewable energy.
Helping, even within your broken narrative, which I don't agree with. So you cut those things down, you then pay to ship them somewhere else, which then creates all sorts of carbon, however they're traveling there. Then you burn them, which obviously creates carbon, and that's green energy. I mean, guys, this is not like somebody could try to make an argument about things like windmills. And even though I can prove that they don't fully understand that they're not renewable, there's some argument to be made, even as long as it's not forced, and if we better the technology. But this is absolute lunacy. This is stupid. You are provably creating more carbon than you can stop by burning those things to stop fossil fuels. Like, I would be willing to bet there's some kind of model, probably Neil Ferguson, even though I'm kidding, that they argue, if we keep doing this, that we can tip the scale and we're creating carbon, but by removing fossil fuels, that eventually it will be what if everyone in the world simultaneously does the same thing all at the same time, which is never going to happen? Like, this is just childishly naive. If not, in fact, burning it to the ground on purpose.
Wow.
However you want to see this. And guess what? It's still happening. Here's 2022. Europe is sacrificing its ancient forests for energy. So I guess the ones that the U.S. were shipping just weren't cutting it. We need to burn all of it. We need to chop it all down, including ancient sacred forests, so we could burn it, putting carbon in the atmosphere to stop carbon being put in the atmosphere. Cool. You guys are so smart.
Again, this is the backwards logic that they use for this stuff.
January 2023.
And that's why I don't understand how anybody, like, I guess I do understand how people could trust them and go along with their shit, because they don't know enough. They're just not educated enough on these issues is the problem. Because they use all this backwards fucked logic to try to justify this stuff. When really, again, I mean, look at the track record the government has. Anytime they've ever tried to fix a problem, they've literally exacerbated the problem and made it way worse, and made it cost more money, and made it impact our lives even more. They never actually solve a problem. They just keep perpetuating a problem. So you're going to tell me that they're going to come in and they're going to fix the problem of pollution? Come on, bro. They're going to make it worse. And it's on purpose, so that we keep having to sink more and more money into these things. And then that money ends up in these big corporations and the politicians' pockets. They're one and the same. The corporations and the politicians are one and the same now.
Unbelievable.
Raining out.
Well, if we want to talk about
raining, I guess we're supposed to be having kind of big storm over here. Like the weather. I had like a tornado warning or something, or tornado or hurricane. Rain is expected to stop in a half hour. Okay. Supposed to go hiking with my brother on Sunday, so I hope it's nice. What do you say? Let's see if we can find something else, though.
No, they're not all terrorists. Yes, they lie about all this stuff. Yes, they're an apartheid state. Yes, they are actively acting with supremacist mindset specifically for Jewish people, and they're openly saying that on the record, but we say that we're racist. It's unbelievable. Netanyahu himself says this is the state for the Jews alone. What more do you need to see? It's not because you want to frame me as hating Jewish people. I don't. I'm pointing out the Israeli government that is using
fair, I hate
to
everyone.
achieve their goals, as I'll show you in a second. Even Orthodox Jews will tell you. People are more receptive to this reality today, is my point, that they weren't before. But he wrote this article: Zionist agents drove mass Jewish exodus from Arab countries, according to this Israeli historian, Avi Shalom. His interview with Middle East Eye was entitled "The Lost History of Arab Jews."
All right, I don't know if I really want to get into What was I looking at? I'm trying to find. I don't want to cover something funny. Find something to look at. I was gonna go to breaking now one real quick, Joe, and just. Oh, that rain, the wind from that rain. Breaking. No, it's just. Oh, did you guys? I think HB covered this the other night. This Texas woman that threatened to kill a judge in the Trump thing. Texas woman is facing federal charges for allegedly issuing threats to assassinate the judge presiding over the election fraud case involving former President Donald Trump. Her name is Abigail Jo Schrei from Alvin, Texas. She left a voicemail saying that she's going to kill District Attorney Judge Tanya S. Chutkan. He confessed. The message reportedly began with words, "Hey, you stupid slave," followed by a racial slur and proceeded with threats to anyone who pursued actions against Trump. The list of individuals mentioned including Chutkan, Lee, all Democrats in Washington, D.C., and all people in the LGBTQ community. I just want to know, she's got to be not well, right? Did she get charged with felony? Yeah. While Schrei acknowledged making the call during the interview, she denied any intentions to travel to Washington, D.C. or using to act upon her statement. Adding that concern would arise only if Sheila Jackson Lee were to visit Alvin. Oh my gosh, the detention order for Magistrate Judge Sam S. Sheldon pointed out that Schrei has been charged 4 times in the past year for similar misconduct. Among these instances, at least 2 resulted in convictions and 30-day incarceration. Sheldon further noted that Schrei was charged on July 11th with a misdemeanor for causing fear of imminent serious bodily injury. It was on bond in that case when she allegedly made the threatening calls of Chutkan. Wow. Not well. You can tell, look at her eyes. Tiny pupils, huh? Yeah. Something up with her. Oh, people. Not very bright. That's for sure. Not very bright. Let's see. Oh. Looks like there might be flooding in Utah.
Time now for your forewarned weather. Good afternoon, Utah. Earlier in the show, I told you that once we get into this weekend, we're going to feel some influence in our weather from what is now Hurricane Hillary. It's not only just a hurricane, it is a major hurricane that currently has winds of 145 miles per hour, a Category 4 south of the Baja Peninsula. Now, as we go throughout the next several days, Hurricane Hillary will be making its way further to the north and will be approaching the southwestern United States by the end of the weekend into early next week. Even though it is going to be moving north, it is going to be weakening, and I only use the word weakening in the sense of wind speeds, because as this storm weakens, it's still going to be dragging in a lot of tropical moisture along with it. So we could be talking about a very significant rain event in the southwestern United States, especially southwest of our location. But you typically do not see tropical systems in Southern California, as those systems have typically
really,
weakened.
Keebler? Oh boy. Yeah. Just gonna leave that on screen. I'll be right back. I go to the bathroom. Hold on one second. I'm just gonna close these windows before it floods a little. Man, it's crazy the way those windows are. It literally, like, it floods the floor when it rains. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like the ADL posted this tweet about Leo Frank and how he was unjustly convicted of murder because of anti-Semitism. Looks like maybe Parade on Broadway did a show about him. What is this? Parade on Broadway. I'm so confused. Let's see. Hold on. Let's Google it. Parade on Broadway, Leo Frank. Yep. The Broadway musical Parade is a retelling of the story of Leo Frank, a Jewish man from Atlanta falsely accused and sentenced to death penalty for killing of a 13-year-old girl in 1913. 2 years later, he was exonerated and leaned. So the ADL made a post about him, and then anti-Semitism is just out of control. I'm only reporting on this because it's newsworthy. I can't believe that people say this stuff still this day and age after everything that's happened. It says he R-worded and M-worded a 13-year-old white girl and tried to frame the illiterate black night janitor. And it says his pardon 73 years after his death does not clear him of the accused crime and was likely politically motivated. Wow. They shouldn't be able to post that. They have comments turned off for this very reason, because anti-Semitism is out of control. But they can still put a community note like that? It's uncalled for. We have to... Somebody should talk to Elon about that. They shouldn't be able to post that stuff. Now, what I find even more interesting, though, is this Broadway musical Parade is a retelling of Leo Frank. Oh, so Was this a show? Oh, so this is the music from it. I really have to fucking do the litter boxes. Cat, you can't push against the screen, bro. Very interesting. Wow. Jeez Louise. I mean, you have to have control of the narrative, otherwise anti-Semites will just take it over and they just say all these untrue things. You know? Yeah, we definitely need something to be done about those community notes. You shouldn't be able to post stuff like that. It stokes the flames of anti-Semitism.
Get woke, lose a considerable amount of subscribers on your streaming service. That seems to be the lesson Disney is learning at the moment, off the back of some other recent failures like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, The Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and Secret Invasion. All super expensive and commercially unsuccessful. Who could ever have seen this coming? This article is from Forbes.com, dated August 9th. Disney Plus sheds record 11.7 million subscribers, announcing price increase and password crackdown coming. Disney's recent tumble in streaming subscribers for Disney Plus continued, according to fiscal third quarter earnings released Wednesday. In fact, they got much worse. But the restructuring under CEO Bob Iger in the 8 months since he returned to his old job also led to some upsides, with streaming losses and overall company losses narrowing, thanks in part to austere job reductions.
The only question I have is, do you really think that these companies are losing everything because they're like embracing this liberalism, or do you think it's just that this stuff sucks now? Like they're not good at writing anymore, and the fact that they're just all they do now is they just reboot old classics and just ruin them, make them look like I mean, not only look like shit, but they write in these like terrible dialogue. I mean, I guess it's probably both, but I don't know. You'd have to ask BlackRock how much they hand out for going woke these days. I mean, hell, if they pay enough, I might do it.
Few months. It later says subscribers saw a considerable decline. Disney Plus subscriptions fell from 157.8 million worldwide to 146.1 million, a loss of 11.7 million, more than doubling last quarter's record decline, and it included a decrease of 300,000 in the US and Canada, where subscribers fell to 46 million. It's just the second time Disney Plus has taken a hit in North America. Last quarter was the first. Then later the article discusses how Disney is going to crack down on password sharing, just like Netflix has. Another concern for Disney Plus and all streaming services is password sharing, which happens when people give their passwords to friends and family who don't live in the same household, allowing others access to the content without purchasing a subscription. Netflix has claimed a vast number of people avoid paying for subscriptions in this way, and it began rolling out international and then domestic ways to fight the problem over the past year. Disney Plus now plans to do the same, though Iger declined to give details on the plans. It's significant, Iger said, of the impact of password sharing on Disney Plus subscriptions. We don't know how much of the password sharing, as we eliminate it, will relate to growth in subscriptions. He said the company will begin.
These places don't know what they're doing. They really think like they think that if they do that, that people are going to pay for people will just stop watching. Like this is what they don't get. People do it because they don't think it's worth paying for if they have to pay that much. That's why they use other people's subscription. It's not because they so badly want it that they're like, oh, can you please give me yours so I can use it? No, it's because they're like, I'm not paying for that, dude. If I have access to it, sure, I'll watch some stuff just while I'm cleaning the house or whatever, but I'm not paying for that, dude. Because I'm pretty sure that Netflix, I don't think it did. Netflix revenue increase after password sharing stop. Let's see if there's any. So they posted about 8 billion. Oh, okay. So they didn't fall that short. But what was? Oh, okay. So they actually did go up. They went up 5 million. They say, well, like 6 million. Interesting. All right. So maybe it does work. That's why Disney's doing it then, 100%. Because it worked for Netflix. Interesting. But they didn't meet their projected. So Wall Street Journal had projected 8.3 billion, and they only got 8.19, which isn't a huge difference, though.
2024, and noted executives see it as a real.
But we'll have to
chance
keep
grow our
watching because
business.
I mean, honestly, I would think what happens is that people realize I'm going to lose access to Netflix if I don't pay. They pay, and then they realize Netflix now is like $20. It's not cheap anymore.
Julia, we have been.
Account. I still have Netflix. I gotta get rid of it. I only keep it because my brother uses it. He uses my I don't know. I don't understand how they got. I don't know how they clamped down on it. If yeah, it's $20. I'm paying $20. I mean, I have the best plan. It's $20, dude. It's way too much. So I'd imagine that people will probably be like, okay, I'll pay for it. And then once they realize that they really aren't getting much out of it, they'll probably get rid of it.
Talk about penny pinching. I mean, I don't think these streaming services would be all that concerned about password sharing, which has been going on for ages, if it were not for the fact that people are choosing to cancel their subscriptions because the quality of content is simply no longer there and not worth paying for in many people's opinions. Doing this will only further alienate existing customers and turn off potential customers. This kind of crackdown just smacks of distrust of the customer base and a touch of corporate greed. But it actually gets worse for Disney because customer cancellations for Disney Plus have literally become a trend of late. This article is from Cinema Blend. Cancel Disney Plus is trending after the streamer announced big changes to its cost and sharing policy. Streaming platforms have become a key part of many studios' content distribution plans, but not all of them have been quite as successful as Disney Plus was out of the gate, with its nearly 100 years worth of popular offerings, which some would argue did damage to brands. Combined with a very aggressive price tag, the platform was an immediate hit. However, that incredible subscription cost has been going steadily up over the past 3.5 years. And with the news of the most recent Disney Plus price increase and more, it looks like some fans have hit their limit, as an unflattering statement is currently trending. Last week, during Disney's Q3 quarterly earnings call, it was confirmed that the ad-free version of a Disney Plus subscription will jump from its current price of $10.99 per month to $13.99 per month starting in October. Alongside that came news that starting next year, the service will begin to crack down on password sharing, though exactly what form that will take is still unclear. While price increases are not uncommon for any streaming platform, there is always the fear that people will cancel memberships if prices get too high. There now seems to be a concerted effort to do that, as Cancel Disney Plus is now trending on social media per nodeposit.guide. So I want to say at this point that I don't think it's just that Disney's recent offerings have been a bit below par, but the fact that the nature of the streaming service model, as it has been, I think is becoming no longer viable in its current form. TV used to be paid cable television networks, and then streaming came along and replaced it. Initially, it was largely just Netflix. Now there's a lot of competition in the market. It's become oversaturated, and the model was largely based around simply producing as much new content as possible. So you've got lots of different streaming services: Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV+, Paramount+, HBO, Showtime, and many more besides. And now there's an excessively abundant amount of content, and audiences only have so much money and time to invest in it. At some point, quality is going to have to take precedence over quantity. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and we've already got decades of old films and TV shows to watch as it is. I'd imagine eventually some streaming services will be bought by larger ones, we'll see media consolidation, and the market will contract. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
On February 3rd, 2008, Rebecca Fenton called 911 after she found her husband's body lying on the floor of their Florida home.
911, what is your emergency?
All right.
Emergencies, I think my
All right, let's see. He's talking about Azov. We'll try this. If you guys don't like it, just let me know. The thing about some trans person.
I'm Max. This is
I find this stuff so fascinating.
Laugh so you don't cry. I wanted to make this video as a warning, I guess.
See who this person is. I don't think I've
No.
ever.
Anyone
Not subscribed.
who thinks
Oh,
they
it's the
wanna go
first
down that
video.
path,
Wild.
but they're smart enough
4,000 views. 3 weeks
to
ago.
critically think about what they're doing. You know, transitioning.
Wow, this
Goes
the
so
first
wrong.
comment. Keep speaking out. I wish people like my 16-year-old nephew who just started using she, her after coming out as bi pan would listen to people who have been through the meat grinder. My oldest also is taking testosterone at 21. What is going on, man? How is it you can know two people, two young kids within your family, and told me that she's known she wanted to and to have a mastectomy since she was 13. She didn't live with me and has been affirmed in hating her body for 8 years. This ideology is so predatory. Any kid who is the slightest bit uncomfortable and who's not during puberty is coached into self-identification. Wow. It's just so wild to me that every time I see these things online, Here's this other girl that's been going around too. I could look at Benjamin Boyce's channel, see what he has up right now. Well, watch this
for a lot of people. And this is what went wrong for me. I want to start talking about just this.
You're gonna have to talk a little bit faster though, dude. This is
because
brutal.
That is the driving force for most people. For me, it's hard to say where it started. You know, I can think back to being very young and experiencing dysphoria and euphoria even as a very young child. And these memories stuck within my mind because I never really understood where these emotions were coming from. And in turn, they were used as fuel for...
Well, my issue with saying that is that yourself... How do you know that that was even dysphoria or euphoria? Like you say, you don't even understand it at the time. And you framed it later on, once you were told about what that stuff is, you framed it as that. But you don't know. I mean, that could not have been what it was. It's just the way that you frame it now. Right?
You know, you must be, because if you weren't, you wouldn't have had those memories. One of the strongest memories for me was when I was 17 or so. When my beard first came through on my face. For whatever reason, it brought me so much, I don't know, it's so much, it just upset me. It brought on this panic attack and this just intense sadness, really. That was probably the strongest memory of dysphoria I have. I've always hated the idea of having a beard.
Yeah, but again, how do you know that it was dysphoria? I mean, unless you had somebody like a therapist or something to talk through it with and actually figure out what those feelings were, how do can you just label it as dysphoria?
Quite young, I did start to grow a beard. I have had laser done.
I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been fear of growing up. It could have just been that you have anxiety. You have an anxiety disorder. Could have been something that you experienced when you were even younger that came back up at that time. It could have been a million different things. So just label these things as dysphoria is so dangerous.
Smooth shaven.
What the?
So I guess that brings me to
an
adult and dealing with these emotions as an adult for the first time. I guess this was like 4 years ago now. When I had just moved away from home for the first time. And I started experimenting with just my identity in general. I mean,
yeah,
I think
no
everyone
shit.
does that, really.
Of course, everybody does that, but people don't try to
That's when
change
I
their
learned
gender.
about gender dysphoria and the whole trans movement.
Right,
Really
exactly. Everybody, he's not wrong that everybody goes through identity crises, obviously. I go through one every friggin' day, dude. I still don't know who I really am. But that doesn't mean you don't like even people like I say this all the time. Even people back in the day when I was younger they would dress like either like you're a woman, you dress like a man, you're a man, you dress like a woman, or you're a man, you dress like feminine but not like a woman. It's like people would play around with their identity like that, but that doesn't mean you have to change your gender. It's so dangerous to be like, oh, the only way that you can fix that is to change your gender. It's like, no, dude, let them. Who cares? If a dude wants to wear a skirt, let him wear a skirt. I mean, what? Who gives a shit, really? As long as they're not like doing other degenerate, like really bad criminal behavior, I really don't give a shit if the guy wants to wear a fucking skirt. Bother me.
You know, I really felt like I had been born in the wrong body.
Yeah, but
I
did
really
you feel
felt
that
like-
way because you just like came to that conclusion on your own, or because that's how it was framed? That's how everybody around you framed it, or that's where what you had learned, like a learned behavior.
Something had gone wrong. You know.
To grab the
And
my allergy stuff.
that's when I started the journey of seeking help, I guess. I went through Gender GP, and they were pretty quick to
Yeah, especially
describe me.
in I'm
Saves
assuming he's
the-
in England. Yeah, I mean it sounds like he's in because they have the Well, Tessa, I wanted to be a woman at one point because I find women very attractive, but I would still want to hook up with women. But I realized that that's silly. Silly thing. And again, that's where like and that's where like the gynophile part comes in. It's like you want to become what you're attracted to. And like I could see guys really get into that because a lot of guys like to watch same-sex porn, right? So then I could see a guy falling into the trap where he's like, well, I love women. I love the female form. I feel like a woman. I want to be a woman who's attracted to women, right? But that's not the way it works. Very dangerous. There's a lot of complications. I mean, there's all kinds of issues.
Informed consent.
Well, yeah, the NIH in England it's just like affirm. That's all they do. It's because it's government run, and that's the push of the government right now. Is to just affirm these people and then get them into surgery. And that's the other problem. I was watching Benjamin Boyce the other day, and they were saying that it starts with the pronouns, but it's such a slippery slope because everybody, as soon as you start using those pronouns, everybody that is on board with it immediately starts pushing you towards surgery. So it's like, as soon as you get the pronouns, they don't even give you like any time. They just start like, oh, so when are you getting the surgery? 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 Like, it's wild.
Which is... It's bad. It's bad. Informed consent is this idea that you consent on the context of being informed. You know, I was not informed. I couldn't have been informed. You know, nobody knows the extent and the side effects of these medical procedures.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't,
You know.
like, they talk about informed consent. It's the same stuff they were saying with the shot. They talk about informed consent, but one, they're usually children or like too young to really understand the repercussions. Even in your 20s, you don't really understand the repercussions. Two, they generally don't tell them about all the side effects and stuff. It's the issue that they've been having is that they just don't tell them everything. And three, we don't actually know what the long-term effects are going to be from stuff. So with all three of those things combined, there can't be informed consent. Not in full informed consent.
And that's what I think is so scary about children undergoing these procedures is we don't know the consequence of disturbing puberty. You know, puberty is probably the single most important thing your body does in your life. And we're messing around with it like we're God. And that's kind of scary. Scary to me. So from taking hormones, almost immediately, I was getting side effects. I remember just being tired all the time, just drained. And I used to work 13-hour shifts in a restaurant, and it never used to be a problem. But for the first time, I was struggling with that. But just struggling in general, you know. I also started getting problems with my eyes. I started getting dry eyes for the first time. But I've always been into computers.
I'm trying to remember
and stuff, so I just
Boyce. If Benjamin Boyce had this person on. Seems familiar. Her name's Max. I don't see them. That's possible. James Lindsay was just on with them.
just thought it was that.
I'm gonna look for something else.
Kind of brushed it off. It wasn't until about 3 months in when my eye symptoms especially got really bad. And I went to a optometrist who told me that the oil glands in my eyes, some of them had died off and shut down. That was quite terrifying. This idea of I've permanently damaged myself. You know, and especially something like your eyes. It's so important. You know, and it's been over a year now since I've stopped hormones, and I still suffer with eye issues every day. My eyes are just red.
Oh, what's going on with this Brian Koberger case? I haven't been following it. Oh, so he has trial in October. Oh, so they're doing motions right now. Looking at Twitter, seeing what they have on Twitter right now. I still can't believe that Elon is gonna remove the block. I don't understand why he would. Let's look on the home screen. Roberts. I don't want to watch this Jimmy Dore thing. I hope I don't get.
So they indicted Trump, and here is the
whacked
district
with
attorney,
copyright or something because I know he.
calling DA Willis. She's gonna tell you. She's gonna tell you what Donald Trump did. He illegally tried to overthrow the election, ladies and gentlemen, with his words. Watch this.
The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges.
I know, Tuvok. The friggin' allergies have been killing me. I guess it's the pollen mixed with my cat's fur. It's been brutal.
Defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result. Subsequent to the indictment, as is the normal process in Georgia law, the grand jury issued arrest warrants for those who are charged. I am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon.
So there used to be an agreement among the political class that you didn't prosecute your political enemies once you got power. And they used to be afraid that Donald Trump was the guy doing this. And now they're doing it. This is the fourth. This is a completely ridiculous, felonious.
Which has been my whole point, is that we never used to prosecute this sort of thing before. Like, Hillary did the same kind of stuff. That's the whole point. It's not that I'm like, oh, Trump didn't do anything wrong. I don't really know if he did anything wrong. But all I know is that if it was anybody else doing it, they wouldn't be charging them. So, I mean, people just can't, they don't understand that. They can't, like, see past their hatred.
This law indictment. Of course, you can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. We all know that. That's what they did. And they're trying to say that Donald Trump used his words to overthrow an election. You're allowed to do that. The first thing you have to believe is that Donald Trump is lying. So if he believed that there was fraud in the 2020 election, then everything he did is okay. Everything they're accusing him of is based on the fact that he knew it was on the up and up. Donald Trump knew it was a lie that the 2020 election was fraudulent.
Which they have no
That was a
evidence
lie,
of,
and
so-
he pushed it, and then he pressured electors and other people to flip their votes and find votes for him. Well, if you really think that the election was stolen from you and there was voter fraud, you would think there's lots of more thousands of votes for you out there for people to find.
Right.
So this is what they're trying to get him on. It's ridiculous. This is the fourth completely, not that they might not convict him. That has nothing to do with whether he should be prosecuted or not. That has nothing to do with it. Whether they're going to convict him or not. There's nothing to any of these cases. They're criminalizing free speech. And watch this, Kurt.
He's really flipped,
by the way,
huh?
if Trump had really done what she said, tried to overturn that election illegally, that would have been great, because maybe it would have avoided the Ukraine war, the one that we're paying for. Or maybe if Donald Trump was president and they made him do the Ukraine war, at least people might be a little more skeptical of it.
True. That's a good point. Imagine if it was Donald Trump in office right now and they still forced the Ukraine war to happen. How the hell would these lefties be covering it? I mean, imagine how different the rhetoric would be from the left if Trump was in power right now and we were in this Ukraine war was going on. It'd be totally different. Totally different. Oh my gosh. It's just wild to even like think about it. And try to think like what would they be saying about it, right? It's just these people, man. They blow my mind. It blows my mind. I can't imagine being that much of just a sycophant. Yeah, I guess you're right too, Luck. It's possible that they would still back it. They'd probably back it, but then still, every time Trump did something that they could like get on him about it with it, they would still attack him for it and say he's not doing this right, he's not doing that right, he should have done this, should have done that. They'd probably, you know what they would be doing? They'd probably be attacking him, saying that he's not doing enough, is what they would do. As opposed to with Biden, where they're like, you know, oh, Biden's doing amazing, Ukraine's gonna win. With Trump, they'd be like, he needs to do more, Ukraine's gonna lose. Why isn't he doing more? We need to send them even more money. I'm covered in cat fur. I'm a cat fur off my...
But he didn't. So so let's remember what the Democrats did.
He's got the right attorney general in position to do it. We now know they really have been trying to gin up criminal prosecutions and criminal investigations into the president's perceived enemies.
This is when they thought Trump was doing it to Joe Biden. Now Joe Biden's doing it to Trump. And it sounds exactly describing, it sounds like they're describing what Joe Biden and the Justice Department and all these DAs are doing to Donald Trump. Tell me if it doesn't.
He's got the right attorney general in position to do it. We now know they really have been trying to gin up criminal prosecutions and criminal investigations into the president's perceived enemies, politically motivated persecution, right? Courtesy of Bill Barr. I'll roll in the FBI on you. That's how banana republics work, right?
The home of the 45th
Wow.
president of the United States has been raided by the FBI.
Mr. Trump is using the Justice Department to go after his perceived enemies. I feel worried about the prospect of the Justice Department being used as a tool of this president or any. In our little banana republic, any capable prosecutor can get a grand jury to hand down an indictment of something as innocent as a ham sandwich.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump.
Breaking news on former President Trump. He's been indicted for the 4th time in 5 months.
Bill Barr, on the president's behalf, is weaponizing the Justice Department to go after the president's enemies. When you win an election, you don't seek to just prosecute the losing side.
The president using the Justice Department as a weapon to get what he wants.
Department of Justice is totally politicized.
Sicking the Department of Justice on political opponents, threatening to imprison his political rival, Banana Republic style.
Trying to exact revenge against all of his enemies, tin pot dictator in a banana republic.
Is acting more like a banana republic dictator.
He's using government resources to go after his political opponent.
Essentially, we are a banana republic. That we are seeking to have a bogus and criminal investigation into a political opponent.
And that's using the Department of Justice to also target Trump's political opponent for nefarious reasons. This is a massive abuse of power and a betrayal of our values.
Wow. Wow. And this is what you can't even explain this to them. Like, they just don't, it's like they shut down. They don't understand. I try to explain to them, like, you understand that all the exact opposite has happened, right? Like, if this was reversed, this is the kind of stuff they'd be saying. Also, like, when Hillary does this stuff, when she gets the electors, nothing's done. She did campaign finance violations with the Russia dossier or whatever, and she gets a slap in the wrist. She just gets a fine. But Trump, pays off some woman that says that they had an affair, and he's going to go to jail for that, for a felony.
The President of the United States is targeting a family member of a political opponent. This is the type of thing that happens in a banana republic.
They love that
trying
word.
to take out a political rival in Joe Biden.
Criminally investigating an American political rival, someone the president is worried about losing to in the next election.
To investigate my principal opponent or a principal opponent.
Who is this Grabian? I want to find this video. The guy that made it. Grabian. Yeah, here we go. Nice. Here, I'll post it in HB's Discord. So we have
In the
It's pretty
upcoming
good.
election, Houston, we have a problem.
Don't you think that's something that should be investigated when the incumbent political party opens a counterintelligence investigation on the candidate of the opposing party?
We know Trump is itching to politicize the Justice Department, and the Attorney General has been super shady.
The president is weaponizing the Department of Justice to bring cases against his enemies. The Department of Justice is in an existential crisis.
Again, it's yet another example of the Justice Department basically losing all of its independence in this administration.
This is now about corrupting the next election. And for me, this was...
The only difference is that it didn't take the Biden administration to corrupt the three-letter agencies, right? Whereas they thought with Trump that he was the one that was there. I mean, generally the three-letter agencies have the president led by the neck, right? It just so happened that with Trump that was not the case, and that's why they don't want him in there. Because how are they going to keep perpetuating their never-ending wars if they don't have the president on a leash? And they've worked so hard. Like we were saying earlier, the Bushes and the Clintons and all those people that for the whole beginning of the 2000s have had a stranglehold on the world, really. And they worked so hard to get all these people together, and all these three-letter agencies. These people are part of that whole group, that quote-unquote deep state that's emerged in the early 2000s. So if they lose that now,
crossing the red line. A president who is actively trying to potentially steal the upcoming election.
But to try to take out a political rival. The end goal being 2020.
Donald Trump and his attorney general are using the Justice Department. The only difference between this and a banana republic is that Trump does not eat fruit.
The 2020 election is really the last chance we have to stop our system from fully sliding into a corrupt banana republic.
Bill Barr has done everything that Donald Trump has wanted him to do.
Yeah.
We're living in a banana republic right now.
When you start using the Justice Department to go after your enemies, that's very, very dangerous.
You know what I don't understand is how people can watch this stuff and hear them literally use the same exact phrases on like 20 different places and not be like, that seems a little sketchy to me. I don't understand how you just literally repeat what they say. Is it because they think that these people are smart? So if they say it, they sound like a smart person? I mean, that has to be it, right? They figure, these people are wealthy and important and popular, and they're intelligent, and they know what they're talking about. So if I just repeat what they say, then that makes me all those things.
The Department of Justice to go after his enemies in any way that he can.
Having the head of the chief federal law enforcement agency essentially working on his behalf to investigate a political rival.
To investigate the family of a political opponent, basically banana republic behavior.
We're no better than some, some banana republic.
And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run.
So I appreciate Tom Elliott tweeting that out. But this should really scare you, because everything that they were saying on that video is actually happening right now.
Yep.
That's what's happening. We became a banana republic. The establishment wants to criminalize their only person who's going to oppose them. And they would be doing the same thing if Bernie Sanders somehow grabbed power. Or if Cornel West was able to grab power, they would be doing the same thing to Cornel West. They would be calling him a criminal. They would be criminalizing his following.
They already called him a spy.
They already called him. They've called him white
Russian
supremacist.
asset.
They call him Russian asset. They already did that. So that's the playbook, and this is the new playbook: is the establishment, not only in America but in other countries, the establishment criminalizes their political opponents and puts them in jail. And that was Democrats. That was 3 minutes straight of Democrats warning you about the thing that they're doing right now. And Donald Trump says a large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud, which took place in Georgia, is almost complete. And
I saw this the other day. I saw, well, first of all, I saw the article about the fraud that they had actually uncovered. Bunch of ballots and guns and stuff in these businesses ran by Democrats in a bunch of different states, but especially in Georgia.
Presented by me at a major news conference at 11 a.m. on Monday of next week in Bedminster, New Jersey. Based on the results of this conclusive report, all charges should be dropped against me and others. There will be a complete exoneration. They never went after those that rigged the election. They only went after those that fought to find the riggers. Now, there's something really uncomfortable about riggers in all caps like that, I got to say. Not as uncomfortable as, say, I don't know, putting a medal on a Nazi at Disney World like the great Jon Stewart did. Here's what Glenn Greenwald has to say about it.
That Donald Trump did exactly that was illegal.
So he's trying to find out, what did Donald Trump do that it's illegal?
We have to prove Trump honestly thought he didn't win. The guy who has probably never in his life
Thought he
it was
lost
his
anything.
fault, or
Never took responsibility for
which
a
you all
failure.
know and criticize him
Yes.
for. But you think this time
he knew secretly
the
he was a
truth
loser.
inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what Glenn says. What did he do?
That Donald Trump did exactly that was illegal. He definitely sued in court multiple times and lost, which is absolutely his right to do. He told Mike Pence what he heard from his lawyers was Mike Pence's ability to do, even if it wasn't, which is...
So Trump's lawyers told him that Mike Pence could overturn the election, and so Trump leaned on Mike Pence to exercise what Trump thought his power was, which again, not illegal.
Riggers.
As that vice presidential role.
Which
and
you're
reject
rigging, riggers.
as certified results, ones that he regarded had evidence of fraud, and send them back to the states. He arranged for an alternative state of electors to be ready to be anointed in the event he could prove that there was fraud. But what about this is criminal? Which of these steps are illegal?
I don't know. Nobody's been able to tell me yet.
You really have to stretch the law to make it into a crime.
Yeah, well,
I'm
you
not
have
saying
to.
it's impossible.
It's not. No, it's not even the law. They
This
just
is
have
what
to
I've been saying
frame
from the
it.
beginning. If we're going to abandon decades worth of consensus among
To frame
Washington
it.
elites,
Literally
and the
just-
political and media class,
Literally, the only thing they have to do is just use the right words. If they just say fraud and illegal, that's it. That's it. That's all these people need to buy into it. And if you get enough people to buy into it, then you can just convict them. Because who's going to say anything? Who's going to say anything? Now, you might get pushback from Trump. They might actually like bring it to court and try to fight it. But I mean, in the public's eye, if everybody gets on board with it, he's guilty in the public eye anyway. So who gives a fuck?
The consensus he's talking
These
about
people
is
are going to get us killed, dude. These 7 IQ idiots are going to get us killed.
that we're not going to try to criminalize our political opponents. That's the consensus. That once someone gains power, they won't immediately try to throw their political opponents in jail. That's what he means. They didn't put Dick Cheney and George Bush in jail, and they admitted to
Exactly.
ordering a torture program.
Yep. Yep. But Donald
Barack
Trump's
Obama
so much worse, right?
Committed war crimes every day of his life.
Yep.
Presided over the drone program.
Yep.
Which killed 90% innocent women, children, grandmothers, grandfathers, babies. He was doing that.
But all the left can say is, "Oh yeah, they should be in jail. They should be brought up on charges too." But that doesn't mean that Trump shouldn't be. That doesn't mean we should just let Trump go. Like, bro, this is what you set a precedent already that you don't charge these people, obviously. And now all of a sudden you charge Trump for like literally like little baby bullshit levels of stuff.
With arms and legs over the age of 15.
90% innocent people
That
who
ain't
killed him.
collateral damage.
And I hate Trump, dude. I wish we could get like a real populist candidate. But it's just never gonna happen. And if you start doing this stuff, like you do this with Trump, it's not even about Trump. It's about what happens after this now. I mean, people don't even understand the precedent that it sets to start doing this. Or like Keebler's saying, what's going to happen if they do convict him? He's going to fight it. But what does that do? What does that do to all the culture surrounding it, or to each side of it? Like, how is everybody going to act after this, dude? What actions are going to take place after this, or even during it? I mean, we haven't even really gotten into it yet. And you already had the woman the other day that was threatening a judge. I mean, there's a lot of unhinged people that support Trump. I mean, there's a lot of unhinged people on the other side too. But there's like a lot of unhinged people involved in this thing. A lot of people are just unhinged, period. and you set this precedent, I mean, what is that going to turn our elections into?
That's not. That's on purpose.
If they got a terrorist, that was collateral.
That was okay. So that's the consensus he's talking about. Is that even though they're all war criminals, all of them, every president in my lifetime.
Yep.
You don't prosecute your political enemies, and that was the consensus. Well, now this is over because the donor class hates Donald Trump.
Right.
By the way, Donald Trump was one of them.
Yep.
So this idea that somehow Donald Trump is a horrible liar, criminal, some kind of crazy criminal who needed to be indicted 4 times, he's been in public life for like 70 years. They gave him his own network television show for 10 years straight where Hollywood celebrities would genuflect at his altar, and they weren't even allowed to use his first name. That's how much reverence they had for him, Mr. Trump. They gave him Emmy nominations. Every politician wanted to be seen with him. The Clintons and his kids are best friends. They all go to each other's weddings. They all play golf with each other.
You know Oprah?
Yeah. So this idea that somehow Donald Trump, all of a sudden, in his 75th, 6th, or 7th year of...
He brings up a good point there, which makes me wonder if this is all just AstroTurf. Like, every part of it. Like, Trump is playing along, too. And it's just to set the precedent that this is how we're running things now. This is what's happening now. You can't... It's like to send a message. And I've heard people say that before. I know it's mad conspiratorial, but I wouldn't put anything past these people at this point. I want to believe that Trump is genuine, but it's... I mean, this is wild. This is crazy, dude.
Life became some kind of unbelievable criminal that they have to prosecute right now. Of course, doesn't pass the smell test whatsoever.
You understand the crime here. It's something they all believe in. They'll tell you over and over again. It's called staying in your lane.
That's right.
And so even the great Howard Stern's like, oh, if he said I'm not going to run for president anymore, I would hug him right now.
That's right.
Like, you're supposed to stay. So, for example, don't research anything. That's not your lane.
That's right. You're supposed to let Dr. Fauci look it up for you.
It's called stovepiping in the intelligence community.
That is right. So let's hear what Glenn has to say.
Consensus that I have not shared, that I have rejected, but I only want it abandoned if it's going to be applied legally to equally to everybody. I don't want it to be a one-time only exemption for Trump.
Right. Right.
I've been arguing since the beginning of writing about politics that the media's fraudulent neutrality or posture of not having opinions or not being subjective was devastating to journalism because everybody knows it's a fraud.
Well,
and then of course sometimes as a journalist you have to take sides if one side is saying something untrue and the other side is saying something true.
Yes, but like we were talking about when I did the Sitch and Adam debate, or the Sitch and Adam versus Destiny thing, is that to be neutral, you don't actually have to be neutral, but as long as you present both sides of the argument, that's considered neutral. Like with the Trump stuff, you say, these are the charges, these are the events that actually took place, but you don't use any coded language in it, and then you say, this is Trump's defense, this is what he says. And that's it. That's a neutral article right there.
The example I always use was...
It used to be that you had articles and then you had opinion pieces, and it seems like these days everything's just an opinion piece. That's it. They all have to put their little, to try to get their 15 minutes, they have to put their opinions into everything they write now. Because otherwise you don't get any notoriety or recognition for the things that you write.
Use of...
And it's not about like being a good writer anymore, but how much shit can you stir up?
Torture methods by George Bush and Dick Cheney that had been regarded as torture in every single jurisdiction, including American jurisdictions, for decades. And I don't just mean waterboarding. The torture that was used by the United States as part of the war on terror went way beyond that. All kinds of stress positions, keeping people in cold, depriving them of sleep for days at a time to disorient them. Classic techniques of torture that had been regarded as torture and prosecuted as torture by the American authorities for decades. And then simply because George Bush found a couple of lawyers, neocon lawyers in the Justice Department to say it wasn't torture. The media refused to call it torture on the grounds that they shouldn't take sides. And they would start to call it harsh interrogation techniques because that was the terminology the Bush Justice Department had adopted. And I always was against that. Of course, the media needs to have an allegiance to the truth, and sometimes that does mean you say that one side is wrong and the other side is right. They obviously have abandoned this feigned neutrality. They don't pretend at all to be neutral. It's just their loyalty is not to the truth. It's just to defeating Donald Trump. It's not that they've abandoned this practice of feigning neutrality or being objective to a flaw. It's a one-time only exemption for Donald Trump. Everything has been transformed as a result of Donald Trump. Every profession, every institution that has anything to do with politics has abdicated their role in order to do that. And that's the same here. This does not mean, none of these indictments mean that we're now going to start to have a very wide and permissive
No, and that's
interpretation
the
of law
problem.
to start.
That is the biggest problem with this. Because if the situation was different and it was obvious that it meant that we're going to hold politicians accountable from here on out, or we're going to go into the backlog and start charging people with the crimes that they've committed, or we're going to start getting these corrupt politicians out of power, I would be fucking jumping for joy. I would be on board 100%. But it's so transparent that that's not the case, and this is going to be a one-time thing to get somebody out of the way that they don't want in power and they don't want around. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up dead in a couple of years.
Indicting top-level politicians. If it were, I would look at it differently.
Yeah.
I would still only favor prosecution where someone has actually committed clear crimes.
Right.
You cannot go around charging popular politicians with crimes absent clear criminality, because if you do that, you're going to destroy the credibility of the justice system and of the legal authorities.
And that's what's happening right now. They've destroyed the credibility of the justice system and the legal authority in this country.
Well, I
they
mean,
did that.
They
That's what's happening.
They haven't had credibility for a long time.
But I say this to Glenn. Well, what's
It's
so
like the
hard for Glenn to
70s.
understand, really, right? If we stretch the law to get Trump, then we'll have a permanently gaping loose law that we could then use against you. It's a win-win, really. It's a win-win, really.
We need more gaping laws.
We need more gaping, loosened laws. And let me just show you this. Michael Tracy says, can someone explain to me why it's such a frightening menace to democracy that large numbers of GOP voters think the 2020 election was illegitimate, but supermajorities of Democrats think Russia literally hacked the voting
Michael
machines
Tracy's
in 2016 actually
doing good
strengthens
on this,
democracy somehow. He points to this. So there's a supermajority. 67% of Democrats think that it is probably true or definitely true that Russia tampered with the vote tallies in order to elect Donald Trump.
Isn't it the
That's
same
question.
thing?
Did Russia tamper with vote tallies? 67% of Democrats think they literally flip votes in voting machines.
Well, they called it hacking the election.
Yes.
And I would ask, what do you mean? Did they hack the machines?
They say yes.
Well, the people at the time, they were going, no. I guess they thought he hacked Hillary's emails and that's hacking the election. They weren't saying, like, this is deliberately confusing. So when it's all said and done, it's like crossing state lines.
No, but there were all those. Yeah, there were all those stories that the mainstream media ran.
This is what they always do. They muddy the water so that they can get a propaganda phrase out there that can mean one thing to one person or one thing to another person to get more people on board. Because if you give it a legitimate, like, solid meaning that means one thing, some people are going to be like, oh, I don't know if I buy that. But if you say a propaganda phrase and then you say, well, it means this, but it could mean this, but it could mean this, then more people, it has a broader appeal to people and people will jump on board more. That's why they do that.
Russia has cracked into our voting rolls. Remember? I don't know if you remember that. Oh, yeah. First it was 17 states voting rolls, and they got there. Then it was 41, and then it turns out that was all a lie. That was all made up by the FBI and was repeated by the mainstream media and the Young Turks and people with them.
I'd like to find some sources for after when Hillary lost. to see what steps she actually took after the fact. Because I know that they claimed fraud. I know that she did have a separate state electors set up. I know that she did go to Republican politicians and ask them not to certify. And I know that what was the last thing she did? I just slipped my mind. Oh, they were messing with the Electoral College, right? Saying that the Electoral College stuff should be thrown out, or they should abolish the Electoral College and stuff. It was a huge narrative after that. And they were spying on them. But I'd like to know what else they were doing. And this is what I say to people on the left that I argue with this about. I say, if you had people releasing phone calls with Hillary Clinton that were talking about the election in 2016, you think that there wouldn't be stuff in those phone calls that's just as bad as the stuff that Trump said? The only reason we're talking about Trump is because people had it out for him so bad that they've released phone calls with him about the stuff that he was saying. If you went back in time and went to any presidential candidate that lost so closely, at such a slim margin, I'm sure if you go and listen to all the phone calls that they had with people involving that election, that you could easily build a case on anybody.
MSNBC contracts and all those people.
Yeah, right.
And the Democrats couldn't say it enough that they thought that the voting was rigged.
Continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
But researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling this.
It is the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risks.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
Workers were able to.
No, whoa, that's something a conspiracy theory. No, they're not. They're very safe machines. They cannot be accessed the internet. They cannot be hacked. Nothing can be changed on them. Stop. That's a conspiracy theory. You sound like Q-tard.
Into an electronic vote.
So I can play this. This goes on for about 3 or 4 more hours. And so all of a sudden in 2020, you weren't allowed to say that because Trump. So you're a chump. Most people in America are chumps and dupes to propaganda. And what's crazier is that they don't think they're propagandized. Americans are the most propagandized people. They got you to think the exact opposite. Hillary Clinton couldn't beat Donald Trump. And they made you think that a Russian and Putin somehow flipped votes so he could become president. And everyone still believes that. 67% of Democrats believe that. That was in 2017. So you're a chump if you believe the narratives. Whatever the narrative is in the news, it's not right. Whether it's Ukraine, whether it's COVID, whether it's Donald Trump's indictments, whatever it is, whether it's Black Lives Matter protests, whatever they're telling you, it's not the truth. Ivermectin, whatever they're telling you, it's not the truth. Hey, there's no early treatments for COVID. Whatever they're telling you, be skeptical of always, because they're lying. Just like they're lying now they're doing exactly what they said Trump was doing. They said Trump was prosecuting and going after, using the government and the prosecution and the Justice Department to go after his political enemies. That's exactly what they're doing to Donald Trump. You know, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. I don't support Donald Trump. But people need to realize what they're doing to Donald Trump, they would do to Cornel West or Bernie Sanders or any
Well,
person.
I don't totally agree with that. I agree that they would do some sketchy stuff to them. I mean, they did this stuff to Bernie, right? So they would do something sketchy. I don't know if they would follow the exact same playbook that they're using for Trump. I think that this is a very unique situation for them. I think that this just kind of fell in their lap and they were able to do this. Or it was all planned out. But I think that they would go after them in some way. But I don't know that they would do exactly what they're doing to Trump to them.
Inside the donor class that grabs power. That's what they'd be doing. Hey, come see us live on tour. We'll be in
So
Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, Toledo, Detroit, St. Louis, Tampa, Boca Raton, and Orlando. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you there.
There you go, Jimmy. I left your plug in for you. Yeah. There's this I found. Yeah, I have to look into the stuff that Hillary did after. How much she pushed to try to, like, overturn stuff. Oh. Alright, I've been... Yeah, riggers, get out. I've been streaming for like 3 hours. I'm gonna, jump off and at least take a break. I'm gonna cut this stuff up and edit it into like shorter videos. Do the Maui one, do like the fires, do this as one, do like a bunch of different ones. I'm gonna lay down. I'm gonna eat something and lay down, but I might come back on later, or if everybody's bored, I might be able to be persuaded into coming back on later. But I'm at least gonna eat and lay down for a little bit if I don't feel like death. I'm starting to feel like death because I haven't eaten anything. I'm sorry to leave you all high and dry, but... Alright, later, Keebler. I appreciate everybody showing up. I'll cut these up and then hopefully maybe I can get some views on those videos. We'll see. Maybe they'll get in the algo somehow. But I'll be on the chats and everything. Alright.